Brother Ron, and welcome to We All Be News Radio and TV, the news-free Dixie for the 21st century.
Greetings, family. I'm Ground Zero for one of our Black Holocaust incidents in our American story. Brother Ron Hurd reporting live from the Oakland Cemetery in the heart of downtown Tulsa, Oklahoma. We are in the powder field section of where it is believed that the victims of one of the worst race massacres in American history are buried. Their final resting place of their mortal remains. I'm talking about the Black Wall Street Race Massacre of 1921, which happened May 31st to June 1st in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the Black Wall Street area of town. Prosperous Black community, Black-owned businesses and whatnot. A mob of white folks burned it down to the ground. It is believed that over hundreds of Black folks were massacred, lynched, and also thousands were left homeless as well. So right now I'm in the Potter's Field where allegedly many of these victims are buried, but we are also among two that were recognized from that massacre, two of our righteous ancestors, Reuben Everett and also Eddie Lockhart. Like I said, family, it's come to Tulsa. The centennial, May 31st to June 1st of 2021, will acknowledge the sacrifices of our righteous ancestors. But if we don't tell their stories, the righteous ancestors get no glory. So this is why I'm here with me and my sister, Mo Thomas, also known as Cindy, and we are here to pay our tribute and homage to our ancestors and want to encourage you all out there to go on these journeys. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Go back to the roots, go back to the ancestors. They are waiting for us to tell their stories. So before we get started, we tribute for libations, for those remember and forgotten, unsung as well as celebrated. Knowing the words of the Immortal Duke Ellington, we love you back. And also it should be interesting to note as well, there's a very powerful, majestic tree growing from this Potter's Field. And I believe it's been fertilized by the remains of our righteous ancestors. And like this tree, we must use their stories and sacrifices to grow our future as well, to be as bright, strong, as well as resilient. So take note, family. So this is my humble tribute. Gotta toot my horn, I'm gonna toot my horn, I'm tooting their horn as well.
everybody. This is Brother Ron. I am asking you all to do me a big favor. Think about supporting the We All Be movement. Your donation is tax deductible. The We All Be Group Incorporated is a recognized 501c3. And I'm just asking you all because I want to keep on bringing y'all quality work through the way that I know how to do best. And I'm going to sing my praises and toot my horn. A lot of y'all were not hip to Dick Gregory until Brother Ron brought him on the We All Be platform, until that jingle review we did. Y'all seen another side of Judge Joe Brown, and Judge Joe Brown's message has been amplified. But it was We All Be that brought Judge Joe Brown to y'all back in 2014, and so many others. And we covered so many things. So help us out so we can help you all. Peace.
Is the microphone on?
Yes. My name is that okay. My name is Viola Ford Fletcher. I'm the daughter of Lucinda Ellis and John Wesley Ford of Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm the sister of Hughes Van Ellis, who is also here today. I'm a survivor of the Tulsa Race Massacre. 2 weeks ago, I celebrated my 107th birthday. Today, I'm visiting Washington, D.C. for the first time in my life. I'm here seeking justice, and I'm asking my country to acknowledge what happened in Tulsa in 1921. On May 31st in 21, I went to bed at my family's home in Greenwood, neighbors of Tulsa. The neighborhood I felt asleep in that night was rich, not just in terms of wealth, but in culture, community, heritage, and my family had a beautiful home. We had great neighbors, and I had friends to play with. I felt safe. I had everything a child could need. I had a bright future ahead of me. Greenwood could, excuse me, yeah. Still, Greenwood should have given me the chance to truly make it in this country. Within a few hours, all of that was gone. The night of the massacre, I was awakened by my family. My parents and 5 siblings were there. I was told we had to leave, and that was it. I will never forget the violence of the white mob when we left our home. I still see Black men being shot, Black bodies lying in the street. I still smell smoke and see fire. I still see Black businesses being burned. I still hear airplanes flying overhead. I hear the screams. I have lived through the massacre every day. Our country may forget this history, but I cannot. I will not. And other survivors do not. And our descendants do not. When my family was forced to leave Tulsa, I lost my chance of an education. I never finished school past the 4th grade. I have never made much money in my country. State and city took a lot from me. Despite this, I spent time supporting the war effort in the shipyards of California. But most of my life, I was a domestic worker serving white families. I never made much money, but to this day, I can barely afford my everyday needs. All the while, the city of this Tulsa have unjustly used the names and stories of victims like me to enrich myself in its white allies through the 30s, million, through the 30s million raised by the Tulsa Centennial Commissioner while I was continued to live in poverty. I am a 107-year-old and have never been seen justice. I pray that one day I will. I have been blessed with a long life and have seen the best and the worst of this country. I think about the terror, horror inflicted upon Black people in this country every day. This subcontinued committee has the power to lead us down a better path. I'm asking that my country acknowledge what has been happened to me, the traumas and the pain, the loss, and I ask survivors and descendants to be given the chance to seek justice, open the door. All of you know how easy it is to deny that a violent mob threatened your lives and took your property. For 70 years, the city of Tulsa and its Chamber of Commerce told us that the massacre didn't happen, like we didn't see it with our own eyes. You have me here right now. You see Mother Randall, you see my brother Hughes Van Ellis. We live this history and we can't ignore it. It's our lives with us. Oh my goodness. We lost everything that day, our homes, our churches, our newspapers, our theaters, our lives. Greenwood represented all the best of what was possible for Black people in America and for all the people. No one cared about us for almost 100 years. We and our history have been forgotten, washed away. This Congress must recognize us and our history. For Black America, for the white Americans, and for all Americans, with that's some justice. Is that it? Thank you.
Do you want to say anything else?
I thought it was another page.
Do you want to say anything else?
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else you want to say?
No, it's not.
Thank you very much. We appreciate very much your testimony. Mother Fletcher, if we don't learn from history, we're doomed to repeat it. So thank you for putting us on the right course to learn and to understand and to do better.
Thank you.
Are you the older of the two siblings?
The older?
Are you older than your brother here?
Yes.
You are?
Yes.
So he's used to having a tough act to follow.
And greetings, family, and welcome to another wonderful, entertaining, edutaining edition of We All Be News Free Dixie for the 21st century. That's We All Be News Free Dixie for the 21st century. And that was, of course, the testimony by 107-year-old, or rather 107-year-young Mother Fletcher, Viola Fletcher, from Tulsa, Oklahoma, a Black Wall Street massacre survivor, telling her narrative, reclaiming the narrative, telling her story. Powerful stuff. And that also was my congressman, Steve Cohen. Get going with Cohen. Cohen, get going. Get going, Cohen. But that's Congressman Steve Cohen, District 9, Tennessee. That's my congressman up there. I guess he's chairing that committee. But there are 3 known survivors of what happened May 31st through June 1st, 1921 in Greenwood, aka Black Wall Street. Now, I know some of y'all woke people, a lot of y'all are hip to the game, the name game.
A lot of people say, well, Brother Ron, it was not called Black Wall Street at that time. It was called Negro Wall Street, you know. And okay, I'll give you that. Maybe it was probably called, it was Negro Wall Street because, you know, you talked to Baba Dick Gregory. I spoke with Baba Dick Gregory. To call somebody black in the day was an insult. To call a so-called black person black was considered an insult. You know, and that's why, you know, James Brown did that song, I'm Black and I'm Proud. And it's Black Music Appreciation Month. I don't care what y'all want to co-op it to be. This is Black Music Appreciation Month. This is National Black Music Appreciation Month. June is National Black Music Appreciation Month. I don't care what y'all been told, but if you notice James Brown's song, I'm Black and I'm Proud, no, ain't nobody, I'm surprised people haven't been hip to this. Note that James Brown ain't saying it. He said, say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud. They called in response. He didn't say he was black and proud. He said, say it loud. He didn't say that. So it's fascinating. But okay, but Negro is black in Spanish, right? Do Negro not mean black in Spanish? I mean, you know, we play these games. Like we worry about this. And the thing about it is, okay, it's like Muhammad Ali. When he wanted folks to stop calling him Cassius, he had to beat them into submission. He had to beat it into their psyche. He had to beat it in their consciousness. Like Dr. Francis Cress Wilson used to tell us, or used to show us, or used to write, all areas of human activity is warfare with these folks, with these people. Every single area of human activity is warfare. So a lot of y'all still in 2021 is not prepared to fight. And I saw that mural. I was down in Tulsa. Y'all saw how I opened it up. Me and my sister, my biological sister, Mo, she did the videography and some of the photos. Shout out to my sister. Great road warrior companion on these interesting trips, like our own little Lovecraft country type of adventures. We had some interesting run-ins. I don't know what I was going to say. Interesting. But I was talking about Tulsa. We went down there the first weekend in May of this year to visit, to pay our respects. I knew as what's going on right now, this past Memorial Day weekend, the long weekend, according to our VP Kamala Harris, she really falls or fails at being funny. She don't have great timing. Like Dick said, telling jokes is all about time and the rhythm. The shift, rhythm, time, shift, rhythm. She doesn't have it. I think she was trying to be funny and cute. She just is not funny. And she might have been cute back in the day, but she ain't cute now. Kind of like, you know, I ain't gonna even get into all that because, you know, but what I'm saying is just the disrespect that Kamala Harris have shown people, in particular black folks, should not be tolerated. It should not be tolerated. It's so many people quiet right now who told y'all to go for the Chucks and Pearls. Now it's like, you know, fortune cookies and chopsticks agenda. I don't know. I'm just saying it could be rice and chopsticks agenda. I don't know. But I'm saying she don't claim black no more. She's not the black no more. She's not black no more. She's not a black no more. So it's interesting to see how people are quiet. In Joe Biden, he prided himself of going down to Tulsa. Did not Donald Trump go to Tulsa? Did not Donald Trump wanted to do a speech on Juneteenth? Also, Biden acknowledges, you know, Trump acknowledged Juneteenth, and he went down to Tulsa. I'm going back to Tulsa. I'm going back to Tulsa. I don't think so. But what I'm saying is Biden prided himself. I acknowledge you, Negroes. So, you know, and Biden, I heard the speech because people asked me what was my thoughts about the speech. And thank you for the Dude Nation, Brother Sean Fenty. We love you madly. And also everybody who's been sending donations over the last several days. Y'all been lifesavers. Like I said, there's a lot of things going on with me. I would not bore y'all with all that stuff because I'm a man. But Joe Biden got up there and said that the Tulsa incident, the Black Wall Street massacre, the Negro Wall Street massacre was the only time that bombs, you dropped a bomb on me, baby. He said that was the only time that a city was bombed in American history. Oh, no, Mr. Joe. Say it ain't so. Your home state. The state you claim is your home state. You from Scranton, Pennsylvania? You from Scranton? Yeah, the city of brotherly love dropped a bomb on the Africa family. Back in, guess when? May, another May Day, May of 85, with a mayor, a Democratic mayor in blackface named Woodrow Wilson. Good. Now, if you name your black kid Woodrow Wilson, it's like somebody Jewish naming their kids Adolf Hitler. If you name your black kid Woodrow Wilson, that means you hate black folks. Your kid grew up hating black folks before they even got here. There is no reason why anybody should name their kid of color Woodrow Wilson. Just like if a black kid was named J. Edgar Hoover or J. Edgar. It ain't no, come on, man. Come on. This dude, and people will be apologizing. He didn't have no power. What's the point of being mayor if you don't have no power? It's like, what's the point of being president if you don't have no power to do the things you want to do sometimes? Obama. All this apologizing and backpedaling. You mean you let Joe Biden beat you down to Tulsa, Mr. President? You couldn't go down for the 95th anniversary of Black Wall Street, Mr. President? You let your boy Joe Biden from Scranton, Pennsylvania, out-black you, darky? He out-black you. Like Biden could tell Obama, if you never been to Tulsa, then you ain't black. So Barack, you ain't black because you never been to Tulsa. And then Biden got the nerve to talk about the KKK, OKKK. He got the nerve to talk about the KKK, OKKK. What he left out is that the Ku Klux Klan was started by the Democrats. The Ku Klux Klan is a Democratic Party invention. The Democratic Party was invented to upheld, protect, and enforce and progress the Institute of Slavery. Joe Biden got y'all ooh and ah. Got, I ain't gonna go hard on a sister who's descended from Stratford. She's fine to me. She's a beautiful chocolate woman, very educated, Ivy League educated, came from the state of Biden, from his Pennsylvania state. But I'm saying, y'all let him hoodwink and bamboozle y'all again, black folk. Why are you so-called woke black folks down there with dashikis and stuff and lighting them incense and sage? Y'all didn't call him out on move from his own home state? That they did move, they dropped the bomb on some more black folks decades later, and they playing around with their bones. We don't really know how many people got killed in that move bombing, because guess what? You got these Ivy League institutions playing around with these folks' bones. They the real bone collectors. They out here having online classes playing around with the remains of John Africa and his people. And y'all talking about it's 2021. What that means? It could be 1921. It could be 1821. It could be 1721, 1621. Same old sugar, honey, iced tea. Same old sugar, honey, iced tea. We ain't progress. We just better at hiding the cow manure. We just better at it now. And I'm saying, well, I hope I don't get no complaint. Well, I'm gonna just do this. Because this is a really busy week. I just said I got to come out here and people want to call me. I'm on live. That's why I know people don't be looking at my show. They're not subscribed, because if you were subscribed to the show, you would know that Brother Ron is on a live. It's all the way live. It's all the way live. And he got the nerve to talk about the Klan marching down of all streets, Pennsylvania Avenue. These were Democrats. He talking about there were 37 members of Congress in the KKK. There maybe was 5 or 7 senators in the KKK. We could name one, Hugo Black, a senator from Alabama who became a United States Supreme Court justice. He was a Klansman. U.S. senator from Alabama with a banjo or a Niagara on his knee. Oh, Susanna, oh, don't you cry for me. But I come from Alabama with a Niagara in my news. See how it works. So Hugo Black actually apologized for his involvement in the Klan. He kind of explain it as being, hey, you know, the Klan was a very powerful political organization, and I was trying to make my way up to the upper levels of power. That was his reason for joining the Klan, because the Klan was very powerful politically. The Klan came back a second time and was rebirthed in Stone Mountain, Georgia, back in 1915, inspired by the movie, in parts, The Birth of a Nation, helped to resurrect the Klan in the popular white imagination. And then now on top of that, Woodrow Wilson, yes, the one that black dude from Mayor Woodrow Wilson No Good was named after, that one endorsed it in the White House. He had a screening of The Birth of a Nation in the White House. He said it was like writing history with lightning. It was so accurate. He actually went to school, I think he went to Johns Hopkins University, with the guy who wrote the book that inspired the movie The Birth of a Nation, this guy named Thomas Dixon. Thomas Dixon. And I want y'all remember the name, because I tell you, I don't know why nobody don't do their history. Dylan Roof, after he shot them black folks up at that church before he got, went to Burger King to get that Whopper with cheese, he actually was caught in the home and birthplace of Thomas Dixon. He allowed himself to be caught in the home and birthplace of Thomas Dixon, the guy who wrote The Klansman, which inspired the movie The Birth of a Nation. And by the way, Woodrow Wilson was a Democrat, son of the South, son of the South. Get that South in your mouth. He probably had hot sauce on his catfish, and we gonna get these naggers. But he like catfish with hot sauce. Woodrow, old Master Wilson, like hot sauce and catfish. But get these naggers. See, Biden is guerrilla pimping. History said I could guerrilla pimp with impunity. Biden said, look, I came down to Tulsa. Well, the president gonna deal with you zoo animals. Well, the president. Like he was on the Allen, Dr. Moreau. Well, I'm the president. I acknowledge that y'all is. Y'all just almost as good as white folks. Excuse me, almost good as whitey. Biden would have been comfortable 100 years ago in that white lynch mob burning down Negro Wall Street. I'm sure he probably got relatives that might be related to him that he holds in high esteem and regard. Because you got to remember, his mentors was the James Eastlands, the Strom Thurmans, the Robert Budds, the George Wallaces, the Faubus's. He is the great white Dixiecrat hope. He is their political baby. He is their wet dream. He's Bull Connor's wet dream. This is Joe Crime Bill, Jim Crow Biden. This is him. And black folks and all you Negroes who unfriended me and blocked me, y'all don't have nothing to say. Y'all threw away friendship. I had my own childhood minister, pastor who baptized me. He blocked me and unfriended me on Facebook. I didn't say nothing to him. I just say, hey, man, you must be a slave. If you don't vote Democrat, then you ain't a slave. So also today, a friend of mine, shout out to Sister Jade, my living Black History dream girl. She knows who she is. I already told she was my living Black History dream girl. I love some Jade. And don't be surprised. It's something, may the righteous ancestors approve. But she actually told me, she out-scooped me in my own backyard. They are in the process now of removing General Nathan Bedford Forrest remains from Union Avenue. As you all may or may not know, he had a statue. There was a statue, an equestrian statue of Nathan Bedford Forrest that was proudly exhibited on Union Avenue facing the South, because the South will rise again. So Nathan Bedford Forrest was the first Grand Wizard of the OKKK, of the Ku Klux Klan. Also, he was a Civil War general and a prolific slave trader. He was like the Michael Jordan, LeBron James of slave traders. He was that efficient at trading nagas up and down the Mississippi River. So he made his fortune off of that. But yeah, like I said, he also was a suspect war criminal. If you are a follower of We All Be TV, you all know that we have been extensively involved in remembering and honoring the righteous ancestors who lost their life in the Fort Pillow Massacre. That's the Fort Pillow Massacre of April 12th, 1864. It is said that over 300 U.S. colored troops, as well as white Union soldiers, as well as women and children of color, Negroes, were slaughtered by the Confederate forces led by Nathan Bedford Forrest. Nathan Bedford Forrest. Where do you hear the name Forrest? You remember the movie Forrest Gump? You remember in the opening scenes, Forrest Gump talking about he was named after one of his cousins, a famous Civil War general, Nathan Bedford Forrest, the first Klansman, that one. And also Nathan Bedford Forrest is a Democrat. He was a Democrat. The first Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan was a Democrat. They are in the process of exhuming him and his wifey remains from that spot in Union Avenue, where for over 100 years his statue reigned over the city, over the bluff city, the city of good abode, Memphis, Tennessee. So yeah, I was like, wow, I never thought they'd remove the statue, let alone his remains, in my lifetime. Because I knew about Nathan Bedford Forrest since I was in elementary, and not because they taught me this in school. It's because my grandmother had a Black history encyclopedia from the 70s. I used to just look at that book for hours and hours on end. Because when I was growing up, the internet didn't start coming to play until I was late in high school. I'm one of what you call them geriatric millennials. We're not really Generation X. We're not really millennial, but we were born in between those times of 1979 and 82. So they call us, I'm old man millennial. I'm an old man millennial. I was born in 1980, but I used to surf, read those encyclopedias like some of y'all be surfing the web and surfing the internet. So my grandmother actually had a special World Book edition Black history encyclopedia from the 70s. So I used to immerse myself in reading it. That's how I found out about Burt Williams and Jack Johnson and Medgar Evers and Paul Robeson and Nathan Bedford Forrest and the Fort Pillow Massacre. This dude, and then like his apologies trying to say, well, he was sick that day. He had the runs. He couldn't run up the hill and tell them to kill all the Niagara's. He wasn't in charge. Yes, he was. Because even it's like if I'm a supervisor, right? If I'm a supervisor of a crew, of my cleaning crew, if somebody screw up on my shift and I don't check their work and they call me the next day saying, oh, Brother Ron, they didn't take out the garbage, the restrooms were not done properly, it's not my crew fault, it's my fault. Because I didn't do my job as supervisor to hold people accountable, to make sure I hold myself accountable by checking behind them as far as their work. So Nathan Bedford Forrest, regardless if he was taking a shit or whatever he was doing when they were killing all them Black folks, because they would not allow them Black folks to surrender. Now that's the controversy, because people want to claim that the U.S. colored troops and the white soldiers, the white Union soldiers, did not want to surrender. But also you got to understand, in retaliation for the Emancipation Proclamation that Abraham Lincoln released back in 1863, see, the Emancipation Proclamation didn't free no Black people or no colored folk or no Negroes, whatever y'all want to call, because y'all be worried about more about names than results. And it did not free Abraham Lincoln. When he issued the Emancipation Proclamation, he was talking about freeing slaves he had no jurisdiction over. He didn't have no jurisdiction over the places where these slaves were being held. So you talking about you're gonna free slaves in Florida or Texas or wherever, but yet your Union Army does not have control of the situation on that war front. So you really don't have no way to free the slaves, and really nobody can free you but yourself. But in retaliation, from my understanding, the South, the Confederacy said, you know what, we're not going to hold these Black soldiers as prisoner of war. We're going to slaughter them. Screw holding them and treating them. It's always been an American case, because even you go back to World War II, not that long ago, you had German prisoners of war getting treated better than Black MPs. You had German prisoners of war getting better treatment than Black GIs. So my grandfather, you tell me about some things from the war. My maternal grandfather, he's no longer with us. He's here with spirit, but this is a strange country. But Abraham Lincoln, when he was president, he did send Congress, some representatives from Congress, to investigate and to interview survivors and primary sources about what happened on April 12, 1864. And he, in his lifetime, acknowledged that what happened at Fort Pillow, Tennessee, at Henning, Tennessee, this is the same childhood home of the Alex Haley, the guy who plagiarized roots, with the African, and who didn't write actually the autobiography. Malcolm X, his Playboy editor, from my understanding, Murray Fisher, allegedly wrote that. They said it was a massacre. Even people in Forrest's command, under his command, even some of his soldiers said it was a massacre, that they did not let the black soldiers surrender. They were stabbing people in the eyes. They was gouging people's eyes out, setting them on fire, bury them alive. They would not allow the Union that was on the boats and stuff to come ashore to get these soldiers. It was crazy, man. But there's so much to that. But my organization has been leading a counter narrative where we honor the dead every year since 2016 around the anniversary date of the Fort Pillow massacre. For the last 2 years, I mean, for last year we honored them on Juneteenth, and this year we will honor them on Juneteenth because of all the stuff going on, as you know, with these pandemics and stuff. So we had to adjust and adapt to the situation that we found ourselves in. But we raised about $3,000 to put a historic marker in front of the Memphis National Cemetery, the military cemetery here in Memphis, because their bodies were removed from Fort Pillow, Tennessee, and moved to the Memphis National Cemetery back in 1867. But they're considered unknown because a lot of them were decomposed by that time. And also when they was in the process of transporting the coffins from Fort Pillow to Memphis, there was a thunderstorm. So they written the names of the dead on their coffins in chalk. So the chalk was washed away by the thunderstorm. So they're buried in 109 cemetery plots. And I said about over 300 people dead, right? Including women and children. Like they said, they did kill women and children there. But there's only 109 cemetery plots. That means maybe some of the bodies, there's more than one body buried in each cemetery plot. So we've been acknowledging them, putting carnations on there, reef laying and all this stuff, playing taps, 21 gun salute, all this stuff. We've been doing that. My organization being involved with funeral homes, providing limousine services for VIPs and descendants of the survivors of the Fort Pillow massacre. And this is all documented on my We All BTV YouTube channel. So I'll be doing the work in the community. So we do work. We're not just podcasts. I'm not just running my mouth. As you all may or may not be aware, I've been kind of slowing down on podcasts. I have a lot to say. Yeah, I have a big mouth. I'm very loquacious, but at the same time, I'm a thinker and I'm a plotter. I'm a strategist. We're doing things in the community to bring awareness on as well as offline, and to really reclaim our narratives and to counter the narrative of the so-called official story, because the official story is the official lie. And history is one of the greatest propaganda tools that we can use in our war to liberate ourselves, to free our minds, so everything else can follow. Thank you, Brother Dominique. We love you madly, and everybody who's been donating. Like I said, over the last several days, super chatting, donating through Cash App and PayPal. Very appreciative, because the work needs to be done. But yeah, they started the process of removing Nathan Bedford Forrest remains along with his wife from Memphis. They're gonna move it to a National Confederate Museum, in Columbia, Tennessee. Well, it should have been. It should have been a museum thing. It should never been where the taxpayers of Memphis had to pay for the upkeep of that statue and his remains, where they're buried for a century. This is a majority Black town, and we are descendants of some of the victims of his capitalism, the way he practiced capitalism. He made his money off of human trafficking, the human trafficking of Black lives. Because in America, Black lives only matter when you can exploit and make money off of them. And this has been proven by the Tulsa thing. I've been looking at coverage. I give shout out. I give credit where credit is due. Many thanks to Brother Roland Martin. I know y'all got a problem. Some of y'all may have a problem with him. But Roland has been doing exceptional coverage of the Tulsa Race Massacre commemoration. Just go on his channel. You can see for yourself. He getting the grassroots perspective as well. He's talking to the so-called officials. And, y'all got to check out the thing he did with James Clyburn, Ed Negro. My Lord, our people, man, we have no Black leadership at the higher levels of the political game. Our Black leadership is non-existent, is void. We got to stop letting these people be on a pedestal for decades, for term after term. Jim Clyburn is doing a lot of BS backpedaling. I ain't gonna call him out his name, but I'm saying it's time for you to go, bro. You the reason why we got Stumbling Joe talking that mess right now, because you helped save South Carolina. Oh, boss, we gonna save you, boss. We love you, boss, please. I don't want nothing from Biden. I just want to know, zippity-doo-dah, zippity-way. My, oh my, what a wonderful day. I got pancakes with syrup. That's how I think about Clyde. I don't think about these people. Y'all ask that. Well, I think about Biden. Biden full of BS, man. You heard that speech. He's so condescending. He said, well, no, you black folks, if y'all can get some accountants and lawyers and professional folks, y'all might have a chance of being just as good as the average busted up white person. Black Wall Street was full of professional people. 100 years ago, we had black doctors and lawyers and dentists and CPAs and grocery store owners, all that stuff. Many, many businesses in a 35-city block. 14 black churches. They burned all the churches down. You got Oral Roberts with that big old prayer hand. Y'all got to go. If you ever go to Tulsa, go to Oral Roberts and go and see them prayer hands. That thing is amazing, man. That thing is excellent. I got a lot of pictures, but I'm saying that's probably the Bible Belt. And y'all burned down all the black churches. They talk about Mount Vernon, AME, and Mount Vernon was burned down. The only thing that existed from that time is his basement. They destroyed a whole 35-city block of black excellence. White mediocrity and inferiority did that. Destroyed 35-city block of black excellence. And the crazy thing about it, it's not funny as a ha-ha joke. It's more like a Kevin Hart funny. You got to force yourself to laugh to keep from crying. But nobody got 1 red cent from the insurance companies. All those insured businesses, all them homeowners did not get 1 red cent from the insurance companies. You want to know why? Words create worlds. White folks good at their wordplay. Now, they changed the meaning of gay. They could change the meaning of a lot of things. And they changed the meaning of a massacre into a riot. See, it's the language. Like, if the official said it was a massacre, then the insurance company would have to pay the survivors. But they said it was a riot. So they said, oh, y'all destroyed your own stuff. Don't y'all know? See, I'm learning new stories all the time, just researching this stuff. And some things that we need to consider as well that's not talked about. I'm going to talk about some of those things before I get out the air. But do you know that you had white folks dressed up in blackface, destroying black property and killing black folks? You had white folks dressed up. There are pictures. You got to search it. But people have been showing it and sharing them on their social media of back then of white folks dressed up in blackface, destroying black property and killing black folks. Y'all remember like the George Floyd thing? The George Floyd, you know, Floyd. The flat foot fluger and the Floyd. The flat foot fluger and the Floyd. You know George Floyd, right? When they had people on camera showing these white folks destroying buildings and setting stuff on fire. See, the players changed, but the game never changed. The games. So their descendants are doing the same thing what their ancestors did 100 years ago. They destroyed, but they dressed in blackface. They want you to think that black folks, like last year, they want to think all the Black Lives Matter stuff. It was black folks destroying all this property. It was more white folks at the damn Black Lives Matter rally than black people. Look at Portland. Ain't no how to know black folks in no Portland. Oh, black folks did it. Ain't no how to know. Look, when I went to Portland, when I went to Oregon, it was maybe about 17 black folks I saw in Oregon. It's white man's land. Oregon had it in its state constitution. It became a state back in 1859. It had in its state's constitution, this is 2 years before the Civil War, that black folks could not live on property or work in Oregon. Oregon was a sundown state. Okay, so black folks wasn't there for in any type of way until at least World War II, because you know you work in those military industry complex jobs, production, factory, and all that stuff, working the docks and all that. Okay, so then you see on social media how you got white folks buying realistic looking black people mask, right? So you don't know who really doing all that killing in Chicago. You assume it's black folks. Are we gonna wait till Memorial Day weekend? We're gonna wait till the holiday to start shooting up everybody. Who does that? You think black folks just gonna wait for a certain time and day to do some killing? It's all strategy, strategic. It's the games. It's like, well, Biden, he failed to say, you know, these are Democrats that terrorized those black folks 100 years ago. He didn't want to say that. He didn't want to say it was Democrats that started the Klan. You know, even with Donald Trump, he went there last year for June. You know, he spoke the day after Juneteenth because he was getting criticized for going down there. I mean, Donald Trump, he can't do no right by anybody. Even, you know, it's crazy. But even Donald Trump's father was a Klansman, allegedly. If you Google up a New York Times article from the 20s, there was allegedly a Fred Trump from Queens who was arrested for beating up on NYPD. You know, Fred Trump is from Queens. Donald Trump is from Queens. They released him, but I'm saying, ain't that interesting? You got Klan up north. People think it's like what Malcolm X said: anything south of Canada is the South. Anything south of Canada is Mississippi. So people think, oh, they ain't no Klansmen. That's all down south. No, even them that show Boardwalk Empire. They showed, I think one of the first episodes dealt with the Klan violence, the Klan presence in New Jersey. Because this is around the time when the Klan had a renaissance. Like I said, they came back a second time in 1915. In the 20s, they were their strongest. This is during the Prohibition era. You had over 4 million people allegedly who were Klan members throughout the country. And the biggest Klan state was Indiana. Indiana is just a big South. And we talked about Indiana before on this show a couple of times. You know, Jim Jones is from Indiana, for example. The right, wrong Reverend Jim Jones, right? Who was also a product of the Democratic Party out west. We talked a little bit about that. You can find all this stuff online. You don't have to take me. My thing is, I want to encourage you all to do your research. Stop looking at so-called popular people to be your oracles. You got to be your own oracle. You got to answer your own questions. You got to seek your own information. You got to find your own truth. You must liberate your own self. Nobody can do that but you. So, I'm doing a lot of talking. I was reading y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. Appreciate it. I'm just reading through here because I've been talking my mouth. See, I don't, a lot of y'all want to talk about words. It's not about words. It's about having the power to define yourself in any term. Muhammad Ali used his hands to define and make sure people recognize that he was Muhammad Ali. I don't care if you call yourself purple. If you want to be purple, put some power behind that. Put some force behind that. You know, the English, like I think, you know, certain languages, like the English language, right? The English language, excuse me, I can't speak English no more. The English language has all types of power, institutional power behind it. It's enforced. Laws are only powerful when they enforce the law. In actuality, we don't need any more laws. There are enough laws on the books right now. It's a lot of obscure laws. But if you don't have the force or the will, desire to enforce them, they're meaningless. Laws become suggestions when you don't have the force behind them to enforce them. Black folks, if you want stuff done, we look weak all the time. We begging. Oh, won't y'all give us reparations? Won't y'all give us this? I just had a talk with Judge Joe Brown on my platform. And I'm sorry, y'all be blaming, a lot of y'all blame baby boomers, but the people y'all call baby boomers are not even baby boomers. John Lewis was not a baby boomer. He was part of the so-called silent generation. Baby boomers were born after World War II. So they were really babies during the 60s. Fred Hampton, you got to remember, Fred Hampton was born in 48, right? He died at the age of what? 21. He died at 21. So he was not in charge of Chicago. But who was in charge of Chicago? Mayor Daley, Gangster Daley. Look what year was he born? You understand? He was no boomer. JFK was no boomer. Bobby Kennedy was not a boomer. Lyndon B. Johnson, sure enough, was no boomer. So y'all blame the boomers are guilty of being selfish and greedy and not pet. See, that's what they really guilty of being selfish and greedy. Because, you know, you look at, I'm not talking about Judge Joe Brown, but Judge Joe Brown went to UCLA debt free. He could get involved. He could be, he could, go flip sharks and flip skirts He could flip a shark and flip a skirt and have some fun because he's not worrying about, I got to find a job that I can make enough to live on and pay back student loans. I talked to Fred Hampton's, one of his lawyers for his estate, Jeffrey Haas. You know, Jeffrey Haas was inspired by some of his partners to start the People's Law Office in Chicago after the state-sponsored assassination of Fred Hampton. They also were key in bringing up the civil rights lawsuit against the state for about 12 years. It took them 12 years to get any type of so-called justice and reparations for Fred Hampton, Mark Clark, and the other victims that were targeted December 4th, 1969. He said, Ron, the reason why we was able to do the work we was able to do was because we didn't have student loan debt to compete with, in terms of we could be passionate, we could be young, we could be reckless, we could do things, we could challenge the status quo without worrying about, getting evicted or getting our car repossessed because we're trying to pay off these student loans and trying to find a job in our career path that we went to school for. So times are different. So really, it is so tough just to survive right now because they do everything they can to keep us so distracted and to keep us defeated. So like they talking about, I remember reading the article about Montana. Now they're trying to get rid of all the extra stimulus benefits. Like you got a place like Montana where people was, getting some decent money off of the unemployment benefits from the government, from the federal government. Then they stopped that. But why is it that when people get a little bit of money, then you're going to raise the rent, you're going to raise the cost of milk and eggs and chicken wings and gas? I mean, people can't win, man. Majority of people are struggling. But at the same time, they're being distracted by BS that don't matter. I don't care about no sports right now. I don't see how anybody could care about sport. The biggest game going is life. The greatest, biggest, most competitive game is just surviving from day to day. Paycheck to paycheck, whatever, how you get it, man. Get it how you live. So if you look at, black folks begging, we need reparations. No, you take it. You take what you need. White folks, religion is taking. Take. That's their real religion. We're going to take it by any means necessary. That's why white folks love Malcolm. Black folks still scared. I be hearing black folks on Malcolm X Day or whatever. I mean, I was in New York for the 90th birthday acknowledgement of Brother Malcolm back in 2015. And it was a brother who wanted to organize. I ain't gonna name his name, but if you was there, you know what I'm talking about. This brother kept on saying, we're gonna get it for the Shabazz family. We're gonna do it by any means necessary. Now, I don't mean by any means, I mean by any peaceful means that is acceptable by the powers that be. That's what you should have said. If you're gonna say that, don't say it. If you're gonna kind of clarify or edify whatever you're doing, do not say by any means necessary, because you don't mean it. And the white folks know you playing around. See, you look at what happened in, okay, we talk about Red Summer 1919. But like I said, go back to 1917 to the Houston race riot, right? Where you had the 24th Buffalo Soldier Regiment. They threw down on the city of Houston. They threw down. They didn't say, oh, please stop messing with us. They said, okay, enough is enough. It's time to y'all gonna feel our pain. It's time to redistribute the pain. We're gonna share the pain. Them dudes marched on Houston and shot up the town, killed them a handful of cops and a handful of white people, and went defiantly to the gallows, the largest murder trial in U.S. history. Look up the Houston race riot. Look at the 24th Buffalo Soldier Regiment. There was a movie that came out. It's on Stars called The 24th. It's well done. I was surprised on how well done and real it was. It should be required reading for all black folk. I mean, required watching, for all black people. Watch You Soldier Story, A Soldier Story. Watch that. Watch Ragtime. Watch these movies. Watch Ragtime, A Soldier Story, The 24th. Watch Goodbye Uncle Tom, the director's cut. Watch these movies. Watch them, because a lot of y'all ain't gonna read. So just watch the movies. They're true enough to what really happened, But getting back to the white folks, the insurance companies did not pay any other survivors, any other business owners, 1 red cent for their losses from May 31st through June 1st, 1921. But the insurance companies did pay the white folks for their guns and bullets, because they said, look, if this is a riot, that means we was protecting property, when really they were destroying property, because they were massacring people. Even the National Guard allegedly got involved in killing black folk. Okay, even the National Guard allegedly. Go back to the Lane Race Massacre. National Guard allegedly was shooting down black folks who was trying to surrender. Allegedly shooting down black folks who were trying to ask for help from the white mob because they allowed it. See, real crime is organized crime. Is organized crime is organized because law enforcement controls organized crime. Malcolm once did a speech I heard. He said, wherever there's a large number of police, the greater the organized crime there is in that area. If you got a large presence of police, that means that's a stronghold for organized crime. You understand or understand what I'm saying? See, people think about Vegas. They get it wrong. The mob never ran Vegas. Law enforcement ran Vegas. The mob had to pay off law enforcement for protection. See, y'all talking about Bugsy Siegel and Sam Giancana and Marshall Calfano and Lefty Rosenthal and Tony Spilotro. They didn't run the power. The law enforcement controlled the power in Vegas. They allowed them to come to Vegas. If they want you out of there, they could put you on a list. They had Al Capone on the list. You could never visit Vegas, from my understanding. So they keep out, it's a scene in L.A. Confidential to make my point. When they had found out about all these gangsters coming in from back east, they made sure you never left the airport, let alone the airfield. Get your ass back on that plane. We will beat your ass. We'll put you in a goddamn cell. Get your ass back on the plane to New York or Chicago, Milwaukee, and never come back here again. That's law enforcement telling y'all beloved gangsters that shit. So the gangsters getting run what y'all think. The real crime, organized crime figures is law enforcement and the politicians. If you think about New York, Frank Costello, the reason why he was so powerful, they call him the prime minister of the mob, because he was paying off the judges, the prosecutors, the politicians, the beat police, the police captains. He had paid them off. He could not operate. See, they charged the so-called mob attack. So it's funny and it's laughable when y'all say, well, the mob killed JFK. Which mob you talking about? You ain't talking about the one with the vowels in their names, right? At the end of their names, because they're not the real mob. The real mob is the feds. They the real mob. Police, you know what I'm saying? So yeah. So the white folks got paid by the insurance companies for their bullets and guns. Because they said we was trying to stop the riot when they the one was really leading the riots and they had started the massacre. Now you got a thing. Well, people talking about the planes bombing Greenwood. So who owned those planes? Now I talked to elders and the old timers. They told me, Brother Ron, we own them planes. They stole our planes and used it against us. Now, when I went to Tulsa with my sister earlier last month, I talked to several people on the ground, so-called tour guides and historians and people who were descendants of survivors and stuff like that. They say, well, I got several different stories. They said, well, the white folks owned those planes, man. We didn't own no planes back then. They said, well, the National Guard allegedly used the planes to bomb the people. Maybe so. Then they'll say, well, I talked to one sister artist, daddy was a Vietnam veteran and all that stuff. We're going, she said it was our planes they used. And she said, well, no problem, because you know why? People still afraid in 2021 to talk about what happened in 1921 in Tulsa. Black folks are still afraid because that generational trauma. You got your grandmother and your grandfather, your father and your mom. They never told you about their traumatic experiences from the 20s. And you grow up as a fully grown person, never learned about this in school. In some cases, you already got grown kids. And you just now finding out about this by reading the Los Angeles Times while you at work, or by cleaning out your parents' room and finding articles and stuff. It's just, and you feel like you're being robbed. Like you robbed me of knowing this stuff. So it was a conspiracy between blacks and whites to keep this a secret to the grave. It's a conspiracy, man. Sad. And our people don't talk about our pain. Everything's taboo with black people. Stop that mess. Let it out. So be it. But I'm saying, well, Biden, it's such a trick bag with this dude, Moneybag Joe. Such a trick bag, such a pimp. And black folks still going on with it. I can't, and I love my people, but I just can't. At this point, it's gonna have to be a changing of the guard. You know, we got to get our women back in order. You know, we got to get them back in order. Women are, you know, our black women as not people, these black dudes hiding behind women, talking about, oh, they're gonna lead us. They can't lead us, man. Men need to be men. All the so-called black towns, I don't care when all these black towns were founded by who? Black men. Black Wall Street was founded by black men. Stratford and Gurley. I think his brother named Gurley. You know what's interesting? He was a grocer. And guess what was the name of his store? The People's Grocery Store, right? And there was a People's Grocery Store in Memphis, Tennessee. The People's Grocery Lynching of 1892 happened March the 9th, 1892. Memphis was the 5th largest wholesale grocer in the nation. The 5th largest wholesale grocers market in the nation. And you had in what is now known as South Memphis, the People's Grocery Store, which was highly successful, black owned, black run, highly successful business with a white competitor across the street who was envious of the black man being successful, which I must understand. Because here's the thing. Now, I talked to Kwame Brown on Sunday, you know, Judge and all that. My time is coming. It's going to be my season. And I'm going to have all the mamas cooking and seasoning available to you all while they allow us to speak free. Because in my archives on this channel, over 1,000+ videos. Whatever, good, bad, ugly. Oh, it wasn't that perfect, but I don't have no problem showing my imperfections. It makes me a stronger person and more believable and more accountable and more authentic when you show your shortcomings. And I wanted to believe that I helped improve in my production value over the years. No, I can't hear this. I get enough money, start my archives, we'll remaster some of the audio. Whatever. When I get that $30 million bag, we could remaster audio, we could put subtitles and shit, get all fancy with it, right? But until that time comes, most of the stuff is decent, right? But what I'm saying is, know this: if you don't understand anything about lynching, most of the lynching victims in this country, as it relates to the black community or so-called black people, were business people. They were lynching black folks because we was economically successful, as well as a threat to so-called white superiority. So most of those lynching victims y'all hear about, you might know their name by going down to Montgomery to the lynching memorial. I call it the lynching memorial. A lot of them were killed not because they were criminals and rapists and degenerates, but because they were prosperous landowners, business owners, leaders of their community. Most of these were men, black men. See, black people are strongest where our men are leading us. This is why we've been faltering, because we were such a matriarchy. And I'm not knocking the sisters, but we got to understand, you women got to start raising stronger males who want to be men. And men must be involved. We men must take our rightful place at the table as well as in the home. See, that's the biggest. Black men, I'm saying, you can't name one black town that was founded without black men at the helm. Black men, religious organizations, black men, fraternal organizations, black men. Look, black men, it's our time to rise. It is our time to take our place. But we got to know this history. So getting back to the People's Grocery Store, it was attacked by a white mob. The black men defending themselves. I know Judge talking about, well, you need to be better defended. We do defend ourselves. But we get confused because we think that everybody's going to be forthright like we are. Let's say, like, you know, we found out we did something wrong, we turn ourselves in. We think, because like black people, we used to have a moral code. We did used to have a code back in the day, but like Dr. King said, we integrated into a burning house. We want to be so much like the people we want to be with that we lost our way. We lost our identity. There's a difference between integration and assimilation. There's a difference between integration and assimilation. When you integrate, you don't lose who you are. But when you assimilate, you destroy your roots. You willfully destroy your identity. And maybe you might be willfully ignorant, whatever, in doing so, but it is what it is. But getting back to the People's Grocery lynching, when they shot into the white mob, remember, the white folks attacked their store, trying to destroy their store. And these black men, along with their allies, were trying to protect their property. And it was within their rights to protect their property, according to the law. But they fired to the crowd and wanted some white men who happened to be police officers. But why are police officers participating in a lynch mob? Because they were plain clothes, whatever, they didn't have their uniforms on. But why were they participating in unlawful behavior? So these black men said, oh, we didn't know they were cops. Okay, we'll turn ourselves in. Because they said, oh, we're going to follow the law. We didn't know. But they was in their rights, it's self-defense, the Castle's doctrine. I don't know if it existed back then, but you have a right to defend your life. That's really God. It has nothing to do with the law. If your life is in danger, self-preservation is the number one law of nature. So you have a right. You have a divine, humane right to defend yourself by any means necessary. So these brothers turned themselves in, Thomas Moss and his business associates, two of his business associates. They turned themselves in and they were kidnapped from the Shelby County jail, and they were led to a vacant lot near railroad tracks in Uptown, what is known as what is known as North Memphis now, Uptown, whatever you want to call it. So these guys were all horribly disfigured and lynched, and they left Thomas Moss. Thomas Moss was a prominent leader of the black community in Memphis, well respected, and also he was a mailman. To be a mailman back then was to be a celebrity. The mailman was a superstar back then in the black community, like the Pullman Porter later became, right? Because they had a position of prestige and they were well respected. And also he was a thriving entrepreneur with the People's Grocery Store. He tried to reason with the white lynch mob because they also included white newspaper journalists. They actually wrote down his last words. They didn't try to intervene. Because even back then with them lynchings, like a carnival atmosphere. You had the leading newspapers of the day printing like the date and times of these extrajudicial killings and having special trains run. You can look at all this stuff online. Take a look, it's all online. They had postcards made out of people getting barbecued at these lynchings. But the newspaper men were there to report what happened. They didn't intervene, even though these men, civil and human rights were violated. They were kidnapped from a jail, tortured, and brutally murdered. But Thomas Moss had a child on the way. He had a son on the way. He had a little daughter. He had a young family. He was a married man. One of his best friends, A.L.L. Barnett, was the godmother to his daughter. They asked him, he begged, and he said, "No, we're gonna kill you." And he said, "You have any last words, boy?" He said, "Well, tell my people to go west because they cannot get any justice here." So they proceeded to disfigure, lynch, whatever you want to call it, this brother. So A.L.L. was heartbroken and angry and mad, and she saw what he said, his last words, and she reprinted his last words in her newspaper, the Free Speech and Headlight, and she told black people because he said, "Go west," and she said, "Go west. Y'all go west. Leave Memphis, black people, because they don't care about us." And over 6,000 black folks left Memphis and went west. A lot of these black folks went to Oklahoma, to Indian Territory, right? And from my understanding, Robert Church Sr. put money behind the development of Black Wall Street because Greenwood was founded in 1905. I know that happened in 1892, but what's interesting is one of the founders of Greenwood, Gurley, was a grocer. And guess what was the name of his grocery store? The People's Grocery Store. So he actually had his grocery store named the People's Grocery Store. So I'm starting to think, I said, well, what is this People's Grocery Store thing about? Is this some type of movement, some type of clandestine powernomics? I know they didn't have the term powernomic, but is this some type of clandestine organization to try to empower the black community? Because even the name Greenwood, now, there's so many stories, but Greenwood, I think Greenwood, Oklahoma is named after Greenwood, Mississippi. I think I read somewhere that may be the case, but I don't know. But isn't that fascinating? Y'all see the interesting connections and stuff there. But people say, well, Brother Ron, they don't really talk about this because it's a lot of things they don't talk about. Because if you get back to the airplane thing, there were at least 6 airplanes owned by black folks in Greenwood. There's a guy named Simon Berry. He was an aviation pioneer. He had his own plane. And also, he was a successful entrepreneur. He owned a jitney service, like like what Uber is today, jitney, like the precursor to Uber and Lyft and all that. Okay, taxi service, whatever. He owned a plane. So there was 6 planes. There was 6 planes owned by black folks in Greenwood. So who's to say that the white folks didn't steal these planes and use those planes to bomb Black Wall Street? Because we do know that there were planes used because That's part of the official narrative, and the survivors who testified decades later say, oh yeah, they use planes. They use planes to blow up, and they destroyed every single building in that 35 city block radius. Every single building. And they talking about, well, Mount Vernon is the only standing. Nah, its basement was left standing. The actual building, the top of it was destroyed. And what they don't tell us is that Black Wall Street did come back. Like I told y'all, they didn't have, like I told y'all, they didn't get one red cent from the insurance companies to rebuild their homes or businesses. You had at least 300 Black folks get killed, at least. And really, that's a conservative number because, you know, what's interesting, the city said it was 36. The so-called city officials said 36 Black people or people got killed. The white newspaper said 100. And the American Red Cross of all people said it was 300. I wouldn't be surprised if it was 1,000 Black people. Because Black folks that were lost. Like I saw the documentary Coming Back to T-Town. A woman was talking about how a family had a newborn baby in a shoebox. A newborn baby in the shoebox. They're trying to protect, and they end up losing the shoebox with the baby in it. So how many boxes with babies in it with newborns were lost and never accounted for? Then people told me, you know, they put the bodies in the Arkansas River because they got quicksand in the Arkansas River. So a lot of them bodies sunk into that river. You're gonna never find them bodies once they sink into quicksand. You remember, like, you know, I remember some years ago, not that long ago, down in Florida, they got an issue with sinkholes, right? With sinkholes. Some dude, fortunately, he was a homeowner. He was in his home. All of a sudden, the ground opened up underneath him, and he got sucked into a sinkhole. And they're trying to save him. But the thing about it is there's no way to get him because it keeps on getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. It's hard to get him. So I can imagine they threw a whole bunch of Black bodies in the Arkansas River where there was quicksand. And them bodies just got sucked up to whatever they go into the earth, never to be seen again or accounted for. Now, at the beginning of this video, y'all saw me. I was at Oakland Cemetery. They did some forensic work there back in the fall of 2020. They found some anomalies in the ground. And they were saying, you know, these people, they so sick. Oh, there was 12 wooden coffins that were found. 12 wooden coffins. But then they say, but then we found it might have been a staircase. A staircase in the ground. Oh, really? So that means there's more bodies. There's bodies on top of bodies on top of bodies then, right? Illuminati all through my body. Come with me, Hail Mary. So that means it had a whole bunch of bodies in Oakland alone. Now, I told you that there were several spots where these folks dumped these people's bodies. See, a lot of these bodies were taken into the care of these white funeral home owners. The white funeral homes made a fortune out disposing of these Black bodies. So Oakland is just one spot. And I said the Arkansas River could have been another place where they dumped those bodies because of the quicksand. So that's what they did with the Lane Race Massacre. I went to Lane, Arkansas several weeks ago. Actually, in May, after I came back from Black Wall Street, I went to Lane, Arkansas, where they had the Lane Race Massacre of 1919 to close out the Red Summer of 1919. Now, the official body count is slow and low, but some people said maybe 1,000 Black folks were massacred. And the reason why they were massacred because you had sharecroppers who were trying to organize a union to stop being exploited by white cotton owners. So every time I tell you about a lot of these lynchings happen because you try to keep Black folks at the bottom of the economic ladder. So this is why it's important to support platforms like what I do, not because for me, but because I'm throwing stuff out there that y'all can actually research. I'm throwing y'all some meat. I'm leading a trail because don't just say, well, Brother Ron said, well, Brother Ron said this. Let me go research that. And then let me add my own perspective and spin on that. And let me share with other people. Because information is power. What you do with it depends on how powerful you may become or can become. So with that said, so it went, they said, well, we threw the bodies in the Mississippi River. I can believe that. I can believe that. It's possible. You know, but the thing about it is we got to start talking about these things. Like I said, I've been knowing about a lot of this stuff since I was a little kid, not because my school teacher taught me, because a lot of times school teachers don't know because they've been programmed and conditioned to teach a certain way, to teach you how to take a test, not how to think critically a lot of times, but how to be, you know, do things like in the military. Like I always tell people, you could be a dummy and be a general. You could be a dummy and become a general. You want to know why? Because all it takes is a see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Just do what you told, and they'll allow you to be promoted. It's like I met kids when I was substitute teaching. I ain't gonna never forget this. I met black kids who could not read or write in high school. They were functionally illiterate. I would tell people, Mr. Ron, can I go to the restroom? I said, well, write a note, and I'll sign it for you as a hall pass. You know, Mr. Ron, to be honest, I can't read or write. I've been, you know, they passed me because they said, as long as I be quiet and be a good boy, they'll keep promoting me to different grade levels. And it goes back to what Kwame Brown was saying about a lot of our children, especially black males, cannot read at all, let alone their level. Now, you think about this, Jay-Z, Sean Carter, he does not have a high school degree to my knowledge. But when he was in 6th grade, he was reading at the 12th grade college level. See, because he had a love for words. He wanted to know how to flip words. So quite frankly, he probably was just looking through dictionaries like Eminem, people like that. If you think about Nas, I love Nas. And Nas is just so underappreciated as an artist. He's brilliant. He never ages. So I think he looks the same age as he was in 94. But Nas did not graduate from high school. Check out the documentary they did about Nas. I don't know if it was Showtime or Stars. You know, because Harvard University, he got a relationship with Skip Gates, and Harvard gave him a special acknowledgement. And I think they started studying the work of Nas in Harvard. Like they do Tupac and other people at these colleges. But Nas is interested because he decided not to go to school no more. And I think he had a talk with his mom and his father. His father's a legendary blues musician from, guess where his father's from? He's from Natchez, Mississippi. Mississippi is a powerful place, man. He's from Natchez, his father. He's a great blues and jazz singer and horn player. He plays cornet and trumpet. He told his folks, I'm not going to go to school no more. I'm not learning anything. I already know what I want to do. And he dropped out of school. And his father was cool with it because his father know how it is for a black male in this system. He's from Mississippi, for crying out loud. And so Nas is almost a billionaire because it's not about school. You got to have, we all born with intellectual curiosity and gifts. What the system do is dull you and dumb you down until you lose desire to want to know certain things. If you listen to the lyrics of Nas, he get all deep into conspiracy theories, into so-called, what y'all call hotel woke stuff. He gets all deep. And I mean, he do the gangster stuff. He do the Godfather casino stuff. He do all that stuff, of course. But Nas is highly intelligent. You know, just look at some of the other stuff he talks about. Like, I Know I Can. He talks about the history, all this stuff. I mean, there's a threat about educated black males. What happened to Malcolm? Malcolm was one of the greatest debaters in history, as far as I'm concerned. He learned that. He sharpened his skills at the prison debate team when he was in prison in Massachusetts. But when he got out of prison, he was taking on the debate teams. I mean, nobody could out debate him at Harvard and Yale and all these other places. You understand? But Malcolm he had a thirst for knowledge. Like the brother who owned the bookstore up in Harlem, Michelle Bookstore, right? He would lock Malcolm in overnight so he could study. Before he have a big debate, he know as a black man, if he get one fact or one thing wrong, they're going to crucify him. So what he would do, he'd go to Michelle Bookstore up in Harlem, get locked in for the night. And he just stay up, just reading all the books and going through all the books and stuff like that. And also he had a team of scholars like Dr. John Henry Clark helping them with the information, getting his story right and getting the facts right. So Malcolm was brilliant in that way, but it takes discipline. It doesn't take a degree. It takes discipline. And do we have the discipline for us as black people to learn what they had, what this system has done to us, and come with the receipts and to take what we are owed, to take it? And the reason why I bring that up, and I know I'm going too long-winded, I'm just talking free. I had stuff I wanted to talk about tonight, show, but talking to Judge Joe Brown, like I said, people love these gangster movies, right? When I hear people complain about, well, the boomers never gave me nothing, I'm waiting my turn. That's why you never gonna have nothing, because you waiting your turn. Like I talked to Julian Bond 20-something years ago when I was in college at Washington University in St. Louis. I said, how y'all attain power? He said, instead of us waiting for them to pass the torch, we took the torch. We took it from the old guard. We took it. We didn't ask for it. We didn't beg for it. We took it. Just like you look at gangster history, you look at organized crime history. Lucky Luciano, he took what he wanted. He killed, first he killed Joe the Boss Mazzarella, then he killed Salvatore Maranzano. He took them guys out. He said, I'm tired of these old world mustache peeps messing up my swag. They in my way. They too dinosaur thinking. They too old school. They too throwback. Move them out the way by any means necessary. That means I'm gonna kill my boss. I'm gonna kill my boss. There's a saying: if you want to become a master, you must kill your teacher. You must kill your father. If you want to become great, kill your father. Kill your teacher. And I don't mean always doing it literally. No, it's other ways to do it. Like Picasso, the great Picasso, his father was an artist, but he's a greater artist than his father. Because one thing Picasso did, it's a great series that National Geographic series with Aretha Franklin. Every season they do a different genius. It's called Genius. The first season was Albert Einstein. The second season was Picasso, and the third season is Aretha Franklin. I still need to look through the Picasso one, but I like Antonio Banderas was born to play Picasso, his fellow Spaniard. But in that, it shows how his father, even though his father was a very good painter, he didn't have the confidence. He said, I need the academy. He thought you had to go through the institutions in order to, his father thought, like a lot of parents think, I want to make sure, son, that you're gainfully employed. Go through the academy, go through that safe system to find a safe position. And Picasso said, to hell with that. I want to be my own person. I want to manifest a vision and share it with the world. He took the chance. He took risk. He took risk. And like a lot of us don't take risk, even though we risk our lives. See, a lot of us risk our lives every day, but we're not living the lives we want to live or lead because we don't know who we are and what we want. Picasso, from an early age, knew who he was and what he was trying to do. He may not have known how to get there, but he knew he wanted more than what his father had, who was an artist. He was all right. He was moderately successful. Picasso was insanely successful. I read things where Picasso would pay for dinners, like lavish dinners with just sketches. He just draw pictures. Instead of giving them money, he'd just draw a picture or a little small painting and pay it that way. I mean, it was an artist from America. Look up Robert Crumb. Robert Crumb was an interesting dude. He was a white boy or white man. I don't know if he's still alive. He might be still alive. He'd be old right now. But Robert Crumb is known for his comic book artistry. He had a unique style. He was a unique comic book artist. Also he did some cards, like baseball cards for blues artists. Like he had a very distinctive style. Let's look up Robert Crumb. I saw a documentary on Robert Crumb when I was in college about 20-some years ago. It interviewed him and his brothers. He came from a very eccentric family. Like a lot of his brothers were weird like him, but what made him different from his brothers that he was able to become famous and wealthy using his talents and his weirdness to his he was eccentric. So a lot of his brothers were kind of weird, but he made it. And what I like about Robert Crumb was that he actually brought a castle. He brought a castle in Europe using his sketchbook art. He gave them several of his sketchbooks, the sketchbook art, right? He had sketchbooks and stuff with art all in it. He gave that as payment for a castle. He was able to buy a castle with sketch drawings. I said, man, anything is possible in the world if you believe in yourself and you willing to take chances. So what I'm saying is, you even look at John Gotti. John Gotti knocked off his boss. He didn't even ask for permission from the commission. He did not ask for no permission from the commission. He whacked his boss before his boss could get him. And he became the boss. The black people up here, we shall overcome. We shall overcome. Please give me some someday. Oh, white man, I do believe You will give me some someday. Then we pass that song on. Everybody sing it now. For every generation, enslave yourselves like a wretch like me. A wretch like me. Amazing Grace was by a slave trader. Yeah, you call yourself a wretch like him? This man up here peddling human flesh, your ancestors' flesh. And he said, a wretch like me. Death notes, man. Death notes. But black folk, we still begging, but we did try to protect ourselves. You know, like even the Black Wall Street thing. Them brothers and them black men in Tulsa came to the aid of Dick Rowland, a teenager who was about to be lynched for allegedly assaulting a white woman or a white girl named Sarah Page on an elevator downtown during Memorial Day. So that was weird because now I hear stories saying that Dick Rowland and the girl were lovers. Sarah Page, they were lovers. They were planning to elope. And this girl, although she was 17, she was already divorced. She was already divorced. So she had Dick Rowland, because even his family, his descendants said that him and Sarah Page were lovers. And somehow he tripped and fell on her, and she just was startled. She was an elevator operator. And one of her co-workers, somebody who worked in the building, saw it and reported to the authorities. She didn't want to press charges. But people trying to say what happened to Dick Rowland, because I asked people on the ground. They say he survived. And I said that would make sense. I believe he did survive. The reason why I believe that Dick Rowland did not get killed during the Tulsa race massacre, because had them white folks killed Dick Rowland, they would have had him as a trophy. He'd been dragged down the street. We got that nigga. We got Dick. We got Diamond Dick. We got Diamond Dick. And you know that name is interesting because he was a shoe shine boy, right? But you think about Diamond Dick, you think about some dude that's a stud, that's a porn star, there's a rock hard, you know what? Diamond Dick. And like white folks got a weird and strange fascination with the black man. Cause y'all do realize that lynching was sex magic, right? Y'all do realize that's sex magic. Lynching was a form of sexual perversion. You know, because white folks been obsessed with the black man fathers for generations. And one of the things they would do during a lynching was cut off the ding-ling and put it in a jar, right? If you think about, you remember the dude that did Kung Fu back in the day, they found him hanging from I guess a belt in his closet. You got his name, that did the Kung Fu, the legend, continue, David Carradine, that's his name. He'll hang, but they're doing that because, to get a certain high, right? When you doing your little sex thing, like hanging yourself a little bit to get a certain, like, orgasmic rush. And I'm gonna leave it at that. But yeah, you look at that's sex magic, and we talking about Aleister Crowley. That's ritual. They were casting spells with them lynching. Like, how people held rabbit foot. They say it's for good luck. But why wasn't the foot lucky for the damn rabbit? Why wasn't the rabbit foot lucky for goddamn rabbit? If it's such good luck, it's like thing with black people. You pat a nagger on the head. I ain't gonna never forget. And I got it pissed me off, that head patting stuff. I remember a couple years ago, I think it was an NFL Network, and it was like Marshall Faulk, the great running back from one of my favorite running backs of all time, Marshall Faulk. He was doing some correspondence with Deion Sanders and some other people, and then Peyton Manning came up there. I think it was doing the last Super Bowl that Peyton Manning won, the last one that Peyton Manning won, right? The last Super Bowl he won he didn't win it. The black football players won it for him. But he came up there, and one of the first things he did was rub Marshall Faulk on the head. I said, there's so much disrespect right there. Because I'm saying, y'all, Marshall Faulk is the first ballot Hall of Famer, and he's a grown-ass man. I know y'all from New Orleans, some Metairie, or whatever you from, and y'all know, but you rub the man on the head, it's like, what the hell, man? You already won a Super Bowl with some black people. You rub them on the head too? But Peyton Manning's father is from Drew, Mississippi, Archie Manning. And what happened in Drew, Mississippi is interesting. Look up Joe Pullen, Joepullen. Joe Pullen was a World War I veteran and a sharecropper. White plantation owner was giving him a hard time. He killed the white plantation owner and killed a whole bunch of white people. Like he was a one-man army. He was like Rambo. He was like the Black Rambo. And he was shooting them folks up. Then finally they got him in the swamp, whatever. They shot him up and dragged him down the street behind a truck or something. But the legend of Joe Pullen was born, and his story was retold in Marcus Garvey's United Negro Improvement Association's Negro World newspaper. And Fannie Lou Hamer would talk about, Fannie Lou Hamer is from Ruhrville, which is not that far from Drew, Mississippi, right by it, you know, I believe in Sunflower County. And she talking about how, you know, what Joe Pullen did that when he killed all the white people, that white folks didn't really mess with black folks like that for several decades. After Joe Pullen, even though he died, he committed revolutionary suicide, but Joe Pullen made his point. So we have stories like that. We got to tell those stories. We have stories where people survive the encounter. I talked about that on here, but them black men down in Tulsa, they were World War I veterans. They said, we're not going to let this brother get lynched like that. They went down to the courthouse to defend his life. And they met with the white mob. One white man tried to grab a gun from one of the black men. It went off and the shit hit the fan. The shit hit the fan. So black men were trying to fight. And then you had brothers from different townships. God said these black towns were founded by black men. They were trying to get to Oklahoma, but they were blocked. You had the National Guard came in. The National Guard was there. One of the first things they did was not restore order, but take guns away from black men defending their homes and business and families. They were taking guns from black men. And the black men said, well, we respect authority, right? You know, the National Guard, they came to save us. Now they came to slay you, allegedly. They didn't come to save, they came to slay. You're going to be a blood sacrifice, man. So if you go look at that documentary, Going Back to T-Town on PBS, I haven't looked at Russell Westbrook's yet. Stanley Nelson, I give him props, but sometimes his documentary is kind of weird. It's like the storyline be kind of off. I haven't seen the one that was financed by Russell Westbrook yet, but I have seen Going Back to T-Town that came out back in 1993 that featured some of the survivors of Black Wall Street Massacre. You know, more of them was alive back then to tell their story. And it was one beautiful sister, one elder that was beautiful. And I love her spirit, her confidence, her cockiness, and her love of black people and her love of black men. She owned a beauty salon or hair salon right before everything went bad. And she saw what the National Guard was doing. They were taking away the guns and taking away the black men. And she told the National Guardsmen, if you're gonna take our men, you're gonna have to take us too. We all gonna die together. We're not gonna allow you to kill our man without a fight. We're not gonna allow you to kill our man without us being killed too. That's how strong black love was back then. And this woman was an entrepreneur. And she said she never cried. She said they rebuild, and she said, baby, long we have each other, that's all we need. She said something like that. I said, damn, that's moving. But look at it today. Look at today. Where people do shit for likes and OnlyFans. Where is that black love? If you are blessed, because I was down there in Tulsa, I looked at this photo exhibit of how black Tulsa was before the Black Wall Street or Negro Wall Street massacre. To see those pictures of them black women and men all dignified, man, they look confident, they look loving, they look self-assured, they look like, you know, the world is their oyster, the world is their playground. We can have whatever we want, we can accomplish what we will. Up you mighty race and accomplish what you will. That's how they was looking. And then what, you know, like I said, they did not get one red cent from insurance companies. And yet they was able to rebuild. And they came back strong. Bigger, blacker, bolder, and stronger. They was the lead one, if not the leading black business district, one of the top in the country during the Great Depression. They were strong in the 30s and 40s. But what killed them was the end of Jim Crow, was integration, gentrification, eminent domain, and a damn expressway running through the middle of the neighborhood. They put an expressway to destroy community and unity in Greenwood. By the end of the 1960s, most of the money was going outside of Greenwood. Because according to, I saw that documentary, it said back in the heyday, even during the 20s, whatever, back, you know, before the massacre, the dollar will recycle about 13 times, at least 13, 18 times within Greenwood before leaving Greenwood. Or somebody said the dollar would stay in Greenwood for a year before it left. So that's a lot of concentrated black economic power. That's an engine. And when you got money and resources, the sky is the only limit. So we need to talk about these stories the way, like I said, I can't believe it's almost 2 hours. I have not shown the things I wanted to talk about. I'm sorry. I just got carried away. And that happens with me. I'll tell you what I do. Let me see. It's Black Music Month. Give an ancestral shout out. Thank y'all for being patient, man. I like to ramble and rumble, and I hope everything coming out loud because I have yet to look over into the chat like I want to, but give an ancestral shout out to that brother and his amazing family. That's Dr. John Hope Franklin, one of the greatest historians this country ever produced. He's actually a survivor of the Tulsa race massacre of 1921. He's from Tulsa. And I got to thank my mom, Sister Callie Hurd, for making sure we met before he left this life and became an ancestor. But his father, shout out to his father, B.C. Franklin, who was a lawyer at that time. He was a leading lawyer in Greenwood. And after the massacre happened, the white folks tried to wipe away Greenwood altogether. They were trying to eliminate and get rid of the black community altogether. Like I said, they were not given 1 red cent from insurance companies to rebuild their homes and businesses, and also for compensation for loss of life. And B.C. Franklin, John Hope Franklin's father, fought in the courts to make sure black folks had the right to return back home and to rebuild. And he was successful. So his father, B.C. Franklin, is an unsung hero of that. And John Hope Franklin didn't really talk about how great his father was. I mean, he might have talked about it in his autobiography, Mirror to America. That picture's with me with Dr. John Hope Franklin downtown Memphis back in 2006, I believe, during the Tennessee Book Festival. He was speaking at the Tennessee Book Festival, and my mom really set that up. I'm gonna read a little bit about how that came about with Dr. John Hope Franklin. I thank my mom, Sister Callie Hurd, for me to connect with Dr. John Hope Franklin, and I also interviewed him for about an hour. That was back when I started We All Be Radio, right? I started doing podcasting back on January the 7th, 2007. And then about, I think, May of 2007, had a chance to interview Dr. John Hope Franklin. And he passed away back in 2009. He was trying to live to be 106. He made it to about, 94. He was born, I think, in 1915. That was 2009. So y'all do the math. 94 years young. Let me see. Yeah, and so I'm going to read and then see. People, like I said, like black for it was Negro Wall Street, but Negro is black and Spanish. Same difference. No, brother, but I understand. I appreciate that. And we need to start thinking about it. Like we blame Jesse Jackson for us being called African Americans today, but nobody give a damn about what Jesse Jackson. No disrespect to the elder. But I'm saying, when did they ever consult black folks for anything when it comes to us having anything in this society? Y'all want to put that on Jesse Jackson. That was another agenda. Like I said, James Brown never said he was black and proud. He said, say it loud. He said, say it loud. He didn't never say I was black and proud. He told y'all to say it loud. So thank you, Donnie. We love you madly for the donation. So yeah, they built, and you got to think about it, they were living in tents for months, right? They rebuilt it. By 1922, they were back. That's crazy. That's how strong black people are. They were not allowed to get any type of resources from the city. They had to get things brought in. They had to get bricks and stuff brought in from Kansas and Missouri and other places. And they had no insurance money. But I give the props for props I do. American Red Cross, I heard some things about y'all, but y'all came through for Black Wall Street when y'all needed them, when they needed y'all to back in 1921. Yeah, we are stuck on victim mode. Like everything we do, we want to. I ain't blaming George Floyd or Ahmaud Arbery or Breonna Taylor. But we talk about those type of victims versus Sandra Bland, who was actually an activist. She was actually an activist in her own way. We don't talk about Sandra Bland no more. So the people that actually like speak out for us, who lose their lives in that process, we don't really acknowledge them like we should. To me, Sandra Bland should be as much amplified as a George Floyd. And really, our people are weird, man. I remember seeing a documentary with Marilee Evers, the widow of Medgar Evers. She said that when Medgar got killed, she was more upset at the black people than the white people. Because it was the black people that shunned Medgar Evers when he was alive. They didn't want to help him, who were very critical of Medgar, even though he was fighting for black people. She said that when Medgar would walk down the street, black folks would cross the other side of the road to get away from him. You got to think about Medgar was only 37 when he died. And she got so angry and she was so bitter towards black folks. Then she remembered what Medgar told her. And I'm paraphrasing what Medgar told her. Said, what's the point of hating? You only hurting yourself. Because they don't care. If they do, they don't, they ain't gonna care. You just poisoning and destroying yourself on the inside. Don't ever give anybody that type of power. I'm saying that don't ever give anybody that type of power over you. Don't allow what others say or think about you to destroy you. Reclaim yourself. Acknowledge and reclaim your worth. So yeah, she said, she was really upset at black people, how you treat them in life. But that's how it be. The people that love us and serve us, we don't want to remember at all a lot of times. So thank you, Tap People. I'm trying to acknowledge y'all. I know people have been giving. Sorry if I miss out. I want to thank everybody. But Dr. John Hope Franklin, this guy, he followed the path of Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois. He went to Fisk University for undergrad. Then he got his doctorate from Harvard University. And was interesting. He got a chance to meet Du Bois. That was his idol. And he said when he first met Du Bois, that Du Bois kind of blew him off. It's like, it's an old saying, never meet your heroes, because you're going to be disappointed most of the time. So he was disappointed because he told Du Bois, hey, I went to Fisk, and I went to Harvard just like you. And Du Bois not even look him in the eye and acknowledge him. He was looking down, reading a paper or something. So, okay, whatever. And then years later, Du Bois was sitting in on one of his classes when he was a professor, and he had a reputation by then. And then Du Bois was singing his praises, and he told Du Bois, when I first met you, you just blew me off or something like that. He said, and Du Bois told him and said, I was shy. I'm kind of shy. But once he made it, he acknowledged him. Du Bois acknowledged him, gave him his respect. And I say all this to say, a lot of us, especially young black males, don't want to pay no dues. We want to take these shortcuts and stuff like that. We want somebody to shout us out, and when we don't get shot out, we get all disappointed, all this stuff, yada, yada, yada. You got to pay those dues, man. I've been paying dues for years, man. I've been doing this for a while. I don't, people say, well, you should have more subscribers and more views and likes. I said, who say I'm not getting those and it's not being blocked? That I'm not shadow banned. That my algorithms ain't being thrown off. But if I did it for all that, then I won't be doing what I'm doing right now, almost 2 hours in. Might be upsetting my neighbors with my loud voice, but it is what it is. I'm a bad, bad man. But well, Dr. John Hope Franklin was playing his position. I ain't gonna knock no elder. I ain't knocking nobody. But like it's like what Kwame Brown said. There's different levels to the get along game. There's different levels. There's levels. Don't think that because you don't consider yourself a celebrity or part of the establishment that you're not being played. See, slavery is on a spectrum like autism. Slavery is on a spectrum like autism. We all have a price. We all got our demons. We all got things keeping us down. But everything is by choice. I don't have to take nothing. I do what I want to do. Like Dr. Baba Dick Greg would say, my truth doesn't need to be validated by your ignorance. A lot of y'all can just kick rocks, but thank all the people who are willing to receive and be willing to grow on your own term at your own rate and pace. And so we got to understand that talk is cheap. Talk is cheap right now. Our people are in a bad state of affairs. Dr. John Hope Franklin comes from strong people. Now, I may not agree with everything 100% with anybody, but you don't supposed to agree with anybody 100%. And like I said, I know what's I knows. But anyway, there's Dr. John Hope Franklin. Give him a shout out. I'm going to see what else. I think I'm going to pass. Let me see. And also, I actually didn't cover all the things I wanted to cover, but let me see if I can fit some stuff in before I get out of here. Thank y'all for tuning in and tuning out and tuning in to the Artivist. We love you madly. But I will hope I teach your kids how to be thinkers, not just doers, but thinkers. Because when you're doing stuff and not thinking about what you're doing, there's a lot of wasted energy behind it. Because if you was thinking about stuff and reflecting on things, could be putting your energy to better use to elevate and manifest things that you want instead of things that you tolerate. Let me see. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about that. I talked about General Nathan Bedford Forrest earlier, but let me give y'all some game about General Nathan Bedford Forrest. Bedford Forrest, run, Forrest, run. I'm your cousin. There you go. Y'all gonna learn something tonight. I say this all the time. I learned from Bobby Dick Gregory that sometimes you got to repeat stuff because you might be being introduced to a first audience and it's the first time they ever heard you talk about certain things. But anybody who's been a follower of what I do, they know I've been talking about this before. You look at that white dude, I guess, the white guy with the beard, distinguished fellow, that's General Nathan Bedford Forrest. And that guy on the other side, that brother, we just lost him. Just lost that brother. That's Douglas Turner Ward. Let me see if I can get y'all hip on him. Douglas Turner Ward was the founder of the Negro Ensemble Company. He died February 20th, 2021. He's a Taurus like me. He was born May 5th, 1930. And he was nominated for a Tony Award for Best Feature Actor in a Play in 1974 for his role in the River Niger, which he also directed. He's from Louisiana, but let me tell you about him. He was 90 years young when we lost him. True righteous ancestor. But his Negro Ensemble Company helped start the careers of people like James Earl Jones and Denzel Washington, Angela Bassett, Morgan Freeman, Samuel Jackson. They all at one point was a part of that, Negro Ensemble Company. He's been in ill health for a while, I think. I want to show you his connection to Nathan Bedford Forrest. Let me show you his connection. Negro Ensemble Company co-founder, actor, director, and playwright Douglas Turner Ward was born Roosevelt Ward Jr. on May 5th, 1930 in Burnside, Louisiana. Ward was a descendant of General Nathan Bedford Forrest, founder of the Ku Klux Klan. His great-great-great-grandmother, Eleanor, was owned as a slave by Forrest, bore a child with him. So she gave Nathan Bedford Forrest a daughter, from my understanding. Eleanor was Nathan Bedford Forrest's sex slave and cook, but she ran away before she gave birth to her daughter that she had with him. She ran away to Louisiana. So his these greats are crazy. Yeah, so I know a friend of mine named Elaine Turner. She runs the Slave Haven and the W.C. Handy House here in Memphis. She talked about how she had a Black History tour she led them on a Black History tour. That's Douglas Turner Ward. He came down to Memphis for a Black History tour. and she was the tour guide for him. And he told her that was his great granddaddy, and that's nothing of pride, but he was letting her know. It's like if a Jewish person told you that their great whatever was Adolf Hitler, same difference. You know, Nathan Bedford Forrest was that, right? And Nathan Bedford Forrest is interesting because after the war, he founded a city in Arkansas called Forrest City, Arkansas. That's Forrest City, Arkansas. That's where the great Al Green, the Right Reverend Al Green, was born in Forrest City, Arkansas. That's also where T.I. the rapper stayed to do his gun charges, his Fed gun charges. He spent over there in the penitentiary in Forrest City, Arkansas, across the bridge from Memphis, in the Delta. And so, yeah, I remember I used to go to those Nathan Bedford Forrest birthday party celebrations down on Union Avenue. They were always held the Sunday before his birthday. Nathan Bedford Forrest was born July 13th, 1821. So the white folks for 100 years plus would go down to Union Avenue in Memphis where his statue and body was and celebrate him like he was Martin Luther King Jr. Matter of fact, one of those guys, a Confederate sympathizer and Confederate Civil War soldier reenactor, he told me in no less terms that Nathan Bedford Forrest was the Dr. Martin Luther King of the white people. If King and him were alive, they'd be friends. That's what this white dude told me. And y'all know I played that during my Fort Pillow show back in April. And it's in We All Be TV archive. I'm not going to play it tonight. I could play it tonight, but I'm not going to play it tonight. I just want to make a point that I went to several of these things before they took down the statue. And this in the We All Be TV archives. I was not afraid for my life. I knew who I was. I knew who I was dealing with. But the thing about what y'all don't understand is that a lot of these people, y'all think they redneck, peckerwood, trailer trash, white folk. These are the whites elite. The people I was dealing with down there, they were lawyers and doctors and businessmen and politicians at the highest level. Hell, the spokesperson for the Sons of the Confederate Soldiers or Confederate Veterans works for the Shelby County Sheriff Department. Lee Millar. I'm friendly with Lee, but he works for the Shelby County Sheriff Department. Y'all talking about race soldiers? And they don't, and when they encounter you, a lot of times they're not gonna call you out your name. They're gonna respect you if you respect them. You know what I'm saying? Cause I go down there in the hot sun, and it'd be like hundreds of thousands of white people from around the country coming down to Memphis. And then, Memphis is a black city. And on that Sunday before his birthday, you can't hardly find any black person in the city of Memphis down there. Black folks be down there every day of the week. And then when the Nathan Bedford Forrest birthday celebration come along the Sunday before his birthday, you can't find a Negro. And then when you find a Negro, when they find out what's going on, they get all upset. I said, why y'all getting out? It's too hot. You gonna have a heat stroke. Calm down. Hell, even the white folks were out to me, watermelon and water. I ain't taking that. They said, Brother Ron. They be calling me Brother Ron. They be following me on We All Be TV. Brother Ron, it's good to see you again, man. You want some watermelon and some and some water? I said, no, that's okay. Not because I don't like watermelon. I eat watermelon in front of white people. I ain't ashamed like a lot of y'all. I love chicken. I eat some chicken and watermelon and some water, but I don't trust they chicken and watermelon and water. You know what I'm saying? So they offered me that, but I interviewed some of them. I interviewed a descendant of Nathan Bedford Forrest. Right after that Mother Emanuel Dylan Roof shooting down over there in Charleston. So, yeah, but that he had a black descendant who was a very famous and productive and brilliant black man. Douglas Turner Ward, rest in peace, righteous ancestor. We lost him back on February 20th, 2021 at age 90. So they kind of look alike. If you look at them. They look like they related. I remember Nathan Bedford Forrest did this speech before the Pole Bearers Association. They the forerunners to the NAACP, the Pole Bearers Association. He did a speech back in July of 1875, I believe. And at the end of the speech, a black woman gave him some flowers, a bouquet of flowers and some chocolates, I think, and a kiss. He said, my, oh my, I love me some chocolate. I love chocolate kisses. Chocolate kisses. I love them. I love some chocolate. And by the evidence of his descendant, he did love him some chocolate. So rest in peace, A.L.L. Nora, and rest in peace, righteous ancestor Douglas Turner Ward. And you can rest in whatever General Nathan Bedford Forrest in Columbia, Tennessee. Let me see if I can find that article right quick that talk about his body being removed. And shout out to Sister J. Arundel over there in Fly Nubian Queen for I said, that's my living Black history dream, girl. I love me some Jade, boy. But anyway, let me read a little bit about what they did this past Tuesday. And behind my back, a construction crew Tuesday began removing the empty monument pedestal under which the remains of Nathan Bedford Forrest and his wife Mary Ann are buried. The removal of the pedestal is the first part of removing the remains themselves, which ultimately will be reinterred in Columbia, Tennessee at the National Confederate Museum at Elm Springs. Lee Millar of the Sons of Confederate Veterans, that's the dude I was talking about. I don't know if he's still a member of the Shelby County Sheriff Department, but he was in law enforcement for a long time. And he told the Commercial Appeal that the removal began Tuesday morning and would take 2 to 3 weeks. He declined to identify the contracting crew doing the work. The remains are in what is now known as Health Sciences Park. It was previously known as Forest Park, and the soon to be removed pedestal bore a statue of a mounted Forrest, the infamous Confederate general, slave trader, and early leader of the Ku Klux Klan. The park will hold a celebration of Juneteenth, a celebration of emancipation later this month. The crew beginning the early work of removing Forrest's remains placed a small Confederate flag on the fence surrounding the pedestal. Millar said the monument and the pedestal will be reassembled and the remains will be reinterred in Columbia, Tennessee this year. They're going to have a big old celebration ceremony probably for that. I won't be going to that one, y'all. I won't be going to that one. Memphis reflects on what Forrest represents. The statue of Forrest stood from 1904 to 2017 when the city of Memphis transferred ownership of the park to Memphis Green Space, a nonprofit run by Van Turner, now a Shelby County commissioner. Turner, who is also an attorney, has been intimately involved in the delicate legal process that led to work beginning Tuesday. We are excited. I'm looking forward to having this wrapped up, Turner said. He reflected on the history of Forrest leaving a city that once glorified him. The history of America is filled with good and bad things. We choose what we want to honor. And so I think that when we remove the monuments here and we remove the pedestal and all the Confederate memorabilia, we're choosing to not honor Nathan Bedford Forrest, who was a slave owner and fought in the Civil War to maintain his ability to be a slave owner. And so in the city that is more than 60% African American, this is not something that should be honored, Turner said. The statue's removal followed a robust grassroots organizing effort from Take 'em Down 901 that drove public awareness and political pressure to remove the statues. The effort was spearheaded by now Shelby County Commissioner Tammy Sawyer and Reverend Earl Fisher. Sawyer described Tuesday's work on removing the pedestal as a full circle event. There will be no moment today without the work of Take 'em Down 901, Sawyer said. As with most change in this country and in this world, it can't be done without the power of the people, and Take 'em Down 901 is responsible for that. Sawyer said history attempts to remember Nathan Bedford Forrest as a good and fine person, but the truth be told, he was a violent slave owner. He made his wealth from selling slaves right in the middle of the city. I'm glad to see his remains removed. I'm glad that this chapter is closing, and I hope that as a society and history advances, we remember that we can't rush to place monuments of people. We can't erase the harm that people have done to folks. We can't erase the harm that people have done to folks. The city of Memphis's legal effort to remove the statue was spearheaded by former city attorney Bruce McMullen. In an interview with Commercial Appeal columnist Ted Evanoff, McMullen reflected on the history of the Forrest statue and the fight to keep it standing represented. Angry? I've been black all my life, McMullen said, and I don't know another world. I do know if you get angry, you wouldn't get through school, you wouldn't get through college. What was most discouraging for me was all the disingenuous reasons I heard for why we should not remove the statue. The effort to dissociate the park from Forrest's legacy began with a city council resolution in 2013 that renamed 3 Memphis parks previously bearing the names that under the Confederacy. On Tuesday afternoon, Sawyer held a news conference next to Forrest's empty monument pedestal as it was deconstructed. A confrontation ensued between workers on the site and Sawyer. Workers dumped debris from the construction site on the Black Lives Matter sign painted on the ground near the pedestal. While Sawyer spoke to the media about the legacy of slavery in the South, a worker could be seen toting a Confederate battle flag, taunting Sawyer and singing Dixie, a minstrel show tune that became the de facto national anthem of the Confederate States of America during its 4 years of existence. Yeah, I know I read fast, but y'all get the message. Y'all can find this, Google this online. I wish I was in Dixie. I am. So what's interesting, that's fascinating, right? I never thought they would remove that statue. The statue didn't really bother me. And also his remains of him and his wife was buried at that place. Because originally Nathan Bedford Forrest was buried in Elmwood Cemetery. That's Memphis's oldest cemetery. And he was buried there. And that was his request, I think, in his last will, and he wanted to be buried with his men in Elmwood. And they removed his body from that spot back in the early 1900s. And then the daughters, I'm gonna say white women, they the power behind the throne. The daughters of the Confederacy raised a whole bunch of money to get that statue made in Italy. And I think I read somewhere where the statue is estimated to be worth like almost 12 million or 15, $20 million, the actual statue, the equestrian statue, and it was facing south. And the old timers and the elders told me that they switched the statue facing south back in the 40s. They actually turned the statue around to face south. He was a Confederate general. So I also heard that I went to Bryce Crossroads. I think Bryce Crossroads, I believe, down in Mississippi, where he fought at. And legend has it that Ernest Rommel, the famous Desert Fox, the tank general for the Nazis during World War II, they say he actually came to America to visit the battlefield where Forrest fought. He visited Bryce Crossroads allegedly. Now his son said he never came to America, but a lot of people say he did come to America. I believe he actually probably came to America back in the 30s to investigate. I think it was the 30s and the 20s. Because if y'all know anything about World War II, Ernest Rommel is considered a military genius and legend. Even though he was a Nazi, he didn't go along with everything Hitler was doing. As a matter of fact, he was accused of trying to overthrow Hitler. He was involved in a plot or conspiracy to eliminate Hitler. And the powers that be in Germany told him, look, you could die with honor and we'll protect your legacy. So you got to kill yourself. So he actually killed himself to protect his family and legacy, I guess. So he was a real patriot for Germany. He was not necessarily a Nazi, but I'm not apologizing for Rommel, but they still study the cavalier tactics that Nathan Bedford Forrest did on horseback. They studied it. They still study it in military academies around the world. So he was considered a military genius, Nathan Bedford Forrest, which is interesting because Nathan Bedford Forrest had very, very limited formal education, if any education at all. But yet he was able to become a millionaire through human trafficking, the trafficking of Black people. He was able to rise within the ranks of the Confederate Army, and he had no background in military school or anything. No, he wasn't like Robert E. Lee or Stonewall Jackson. He was like, basically, they consider him a dude from the backwoods, but he was well respected by his men. And like I said, they still study. But white folks be telling me, I said, Ron, Nathan Bedford Forrest get a bomb rap. He had a special Secret Service detail called the Green Berets. All Black man. I kid you not. His security detail was all Black man. These same folks tell me that Nathan Bedford Forrest and Dr. King would be friends if they were alive. I don't know. Politics made for strange bedfellows, but I think that's enough for tonight. I went all over the place, but whatever. No, let me add this one more thing. I'm out of here. My week is interesting, man. I don't. My week is strange, man. Oh God. Got a lot going on, and it's Wednesday already, and I got so much to do. It's Black History Month. June is Black History Month. No, wait a minute. June is Black Music Month. June is Black Music Month. June is Black Music Month. I don't care what they say. I trust what Jimmy Carter say more than I do Joe Biden, and he the one that made June Black Music Month. And y'all do know that Jimmy Carter and Berry Gordy are cousins, right? Y'all do know that Jimmy Carter, the president of the United States, the former president of the United States, is blood cousins with Berry Gordy, the founder of Motown Records. Take a look. It's all online. I just show y'all Nathan Bedford Forrest and Douglas Turner Ward. But who trusts a Black man? Who believes a Black man, right? So anyway, speaking of Black Music Month, and this is We All Be. Like I said, we do more than just talk on, run our mouths. A lot of y'all, some people want to discredit you. They want to the way you use words, and You know, you're not free like me. You're not free like me. But anyway, let me put this up to promote it. Because we're going to be doing a live stream, a very historic live stream this weekend from Memphis. I really want to thank people who have been supporting financially, who've been buying art, buying shirts, or just donating. Because I'm showing y'all where y'all donations be going. And every time y'all give to me, I can give more to y'all. Let me see. And that's what it's all about. Here you go. So this Sunday, we are doing. Okay, I'm still in here. This Sunday, we doing the 2020 Jimmy Lunsford Jamboree Festival Homecoming Court Tribute. We couldn't do it last year because of stuff going on in the world. So I decided let's do it on his birthday. Jimmy Lunsford was a Gemini. He was born June 6, 1902. He died July 12, 1947 under mysterious circumstances. But he loved to serve our people. He loved to serve Black people. And so normally on June the 6th, we do his wreath laying at his grave in Elmwood. We're going to do that early in the day on Sunday, But later on that day, we're going to be live streaming from Facebook and YouTube the celebration of Memphis music greats, the true unsongs, our posthumous homecoming court king and queen, Booker Little and Vera Little. Booker Little and Vera Little are brother and sister. They were born 10 years apart. Booker Little, one of the greatest jazz trumpeters who ever walked the planet. And we lost him very young at the age of 23 from uremia, I guess kidney failure. So he was just 23 years young when he died. But he was married at the time and he had 4 kids, probably had more than 4 kids. He might be a DMX, but he was just 23. Check out Booker Little on YouTube or stream him. His trumpet playing is otherworldly. And he's just 23 years old. Matter of fact, he was so great that when Clifford Brown got killed in that tragic car accident at the age of 25 back in 1956, not that long after, Clifford Brown did a lot of famous recordings with Max Roach. They were, bandmates. And Max Roach sought the services of Booker Little. And Booker Little idolized Clifford Brown. And he ended up dying younger than Clifford Brown at 23. But check out his stuff. And also Vera Little is a great opera singer. She passed away, I think, at 83 years old back in 2012. But she is the first Black American musician or artist performer to perform at the Vatican. She was the first Black musician to perform at the Vatican before the Pope. This happened on April 4th, 1959. And so she ended up living overseas for the remainder of her life. She was an opera star in Germany. She married a guy from Greece, whatever. And she lived to old age. And then, Bobby Lavelle Gardner, he's our homecoming court king, our living king. Great saxophonist from a great musical family in Memphis. Sister Joyce Cobb is our queen. Great talent from Nashville. This is a very versatile singer and can play multiple instruments proficiently. Dr. Alvin McKinney is the prime minister of Joyful Jazz, come from a very great musical family in Memphis. Great, brilliant saxophonist. And Sister Jackie Murray is our princess, and she's just a Jackie of all trades. I mean, she could do it all, act, sing, all this stuff. And also a great historian as well. So we're going to be honoring them. So we're going to live stream that starting at 3 p.m. Central Time. And we'll see where it goes. And we might have some surprise guests. We might have Carla Thomas might come by and sing a song, and some other people. You never know what to expect at these things. So we actually been going stronger and longer with the Jimmy Lunsford Festival movement. And I love Jimmy Lunsford because he was Black masculinity. I had a chance to interview people that knew Jimmy Lunsford well. They no longer with us, like jazz great Gerald Wilson, like beautiful sister Catherine Perry Thomas. She was Manassas High School class of 32. Her brother Andrew Perry went pro with Jimmy Lunsford because the nucleus of his swing band. Jimmy Lunsford had the greatest swing band of all time in the 30s and 40s. It was the number one swing band for Black people in America. He was bigger and more popular than Count Basie and Duke Ellington. These guys are giants. But the only difference between Jimmy Lunsford and Duke Ellington and Count, he died at 45 under questionable circumstances. Some people say he was murdered. And I talked about that a couple times on the show. But and Duke and Count lived into their 70s, so they made a difference. But he set the standard for swing band excellence. So I had a chance to talk to people. I actually had a chance to talk to his nephews on both sides, like his wife, blood nephew, and I talked to his blood nephew. I ran them down in Vegas. Not ran him down, but I caught up with him and interviewed him for the upcoming documentary on Jimmy Lunsford that I'm doing right now. And so I talked to his other nephew. They had some interesting stories to share about their Uncle Jimmy. But I'm not going to keep y'all too long with that. But we're going to show that live streaming on Sunday. It is June is Black Music Month. Okay. And that's why we do. And also in the article, it talks about how they were singing Dixie behind Tammy Sawyer. I know Tammy Sawyer and Reverend Earl Fisher. I actually did a couple of Jimmy Lunsford events at Reverend Earl Fisher's church in Whitehaven in Memphis back in 2018 and 2019. He's good people. Shout out to Reverend Earl Fisher and Shelby County Commissioner Tammy Sawyer. Very interesting sister. But there it is. So thank y'all for kicking back with me. I didn't touch on everything I want to. I just went freestyle with it, but it's always more shows to do and things to do. I'm looking at this check. I said, can't we all just get along? Thank you, Brother Bug, for the donation. We love you madly. And I want to thank my moderators for keeping things civil as best you can. So thank you. We love you madly. I'm glad you were able to receive it. Appreciate the endorsement. He called me a legend. Miles Davis, and shout out to Brother DeJuan at Hotepish. He got a great platform that's growing. He's a very insightful, brilliant, and funny brother, and he got a lot to say. Very gifted man. Miles Davis once said a legend is an old man with a cane or something like that. So I don't know about being a legend, but I hope to leave a legacy that could be of use to my people. So I guess I'm gonna call it a night and check in with my landlady. Hope I wasn't too loud tonight. I get too excited. This is a great question. Yeah, there's a couple. I like the baby. I think the baby is the reincarnation of Sidney Bechet. I talked about that a little bit. Y'all should check out Sidney Bechet. They got that same type of anger. They're both earth signs, and they got the type of anger. I think it was the baby's a Capricorn or Virgo or something like that. I know Sidney is a Taurus. I like Young Dolph. I like Moneybag Yo. I think Moneybag Yo is brilliant in terms of how he come with the anthems. What else? Kodak Black. I know it's probably I'm an older man, but I get talent, and I like NBA Youngboy. There's a lot of good rappers. People tell me they don't good. I mean, there's a lot of talented brothers out there. There's some talented brothers, and Kendrick Lamar. He's in 30s, but Kendrick Lamar is one of my top rappers of all time. I put Kendrick Lamar in my top 5 actually. I don't listen to him that much, but when I do listen to him, I like the quality of his production. How he pays homage to the old school, the P-Funk and the jazz and all that stuff. I think he's a very talented dude. And of course, you can go wrong with Drake, right? Drake is so versatile. He's like the Picasso of rap. You know what I'm saying? He got so many different styles, or like the Miles Davis of rap. I mean, he just comes with all the versatility. He's Memphis connected. I met his father, and he looks just like his father. His father could never deny that Drake is his son. Because Drake looks like his father, for real. He got them eyebrows. But Drake got a Memphis connection. Memphis is a powerful place to be from, man, and be connected to. I know I'm missing some people. I like Key Glock too. Memphis rappers are dominating right now. Yo Gotti. I mean, that's not Yo Gotti been around, but man, Yo Gotti's tree is amazing. It's like Yo Gotti's almost like the Bill Parcells of rap. As far as his tree, I'm talking about if you look at Bill Parcells' coaching tree, if you're into football, you know, of course, Bill Belichick, Tom Coughlin, who else? Sean Payton. These are Super Bowl winning coaches, Hall of Fame coaches. Look at what Yo Gotti has been able to cultivate in terms of his rapper tree. I mean, it's impressive, man. I've been messing with Yo Gotti for years. I love Yo Gotti, and it's funny with when I go travel, when I go to like out west or to the East Coast or whatever, or even down south, the respect that people give you when they find out you from Memphis, especially folks that love rap. Now, the respect they give you, like, no, I mean, I went to Baltimore about 6 years ago on Memorial Day. I was given a tour by Darren City. I was given a tour of the city by Darren Muhammad, who got a great radio show called State of the City out of Baltimore. He took time out of his schedule when I first met him at his radio station to show me around Baltimore. And we went to a part of Baltimore and we met Freddie Gray friends. Like, he had the Freddie Gray mural and they had another mural that they made with Air Jordans and stuff like that. And we was talking to Freddie Gray's friends. You know, I remember Freddie Gray who got killed by the police, and it led to a riot when Obama called black kids thugs and stuff. But I talked to some of his friends. They said, "Bro, where you from?" I said, "I'm from Memphis." "Man, you from Memphis, man?" "Oh man, we F with Memphis, man. We love Yo Gotti. We love Young Dolph." I didn't learn about Young Dolph till I started traveling and talking to younger guys in places like Baltimore and Ferguson. They would put me on the Young Dolph. I didn't know. They said Dolphin. You talking about South Memphis Dolphin? No, Young Dolph, man. And that's when I found out about Young Dolph. I love this Young Dolph stuff. And Young Dolph got a song on his latest album that if they ever made like a Death Row like biopic docudrama, whatever, like Netflix or Hulu, it should be the theme song because that stuff goes hard. It's called Death Row. But anyway, I spent too much time on something. But yeah, I listen to hip hop. We love you, Mandy. Thank you for the donation for contributing to the good vibrations, Sister Misha Westbrook. We love you, madly. Good looking sister. You know, it's fun. I don't know, man. My luck is kind of weird in Memphis with women, but I'm not going to talk about that. It's not the time and place. But it's like women outside of Memphis, they really appreciate what I'm trying to do. Yeah, you know what? I like Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj, you can make the case that she could be the greatest rapper of all time. I know people, oh my God, that's horrible. But I'm serious because Nicki Minaj is gifted, man. Ain't no, man, I mean, I tolerate Cardi B. I like some of her stuff, but Nicki Minaj is the truth. I love more when she's rapping than she's singing. She got talent, but Nicki Minaj is incredible. And I love the stuff she did with Yo Gotti. So yeah, I'm a hip hop, I'm a rap fan. I give credit, but Nicki Minaj can actually dish it out with the men. Like you remember, like the best verse on Monster was Nicki Minaj's. I mean, you got Kanye, you got Jay-Z, you got Rick Ross, but Nicki Minaj had the best verse on Monster. She had the best verse. So yeah, I like Nicki. I mess with some Nicki Minaj, man. I got ears. Yeah, she is very talented, Sister Northern Bell. Thank you. Yeah, she got some bars, man. She got bars, man. She is talented. I mean, because you think about, I could believe that she write her lyrics. I believe she write. Cardi B, I think she got ghostwriters and stuff. Nothing wrong with that. And Meg Thee Stallion is kind of like, you know, to me, Meg Thee Stallion is like a cross between Nicki Minaj and Gangsta Boo. Because, you know, the Memphis rap is so strong. I mean, Memphis got such an incredible influence on the rap game that we don't get the credit for because the rap scene here is not unified. You know how powerful it would be for Yo Gotti and Young Dolph to join forces. But Yo Gotti's doing it like NLE Chopper. I didn't even know he was a Memphis guy. He was actually born the same year I graduated from college. I was damn old, man. That could be my son or something. Now I'm not saying he could be my son, but I'm saying I'm old enough to be his dad, and he doing his thing, NLE Chopper. I don't know. I gotta be talking about this stuff, but Memphis is fascinating, man. Memphis is a strange place, man. It's a lot of things that come out of here. And I was saying about Man, I'm going way back. I wanted to talk about Richard Wright, the great artist, novelist. He's from Mississippi, but he grew up in Memphis too. He grew up in North Memphis. But, I talked about the Lane Race Massacre earlier. And his uncle was killed in the Lane. He was lynched because he had a successful, thriving business that the white folks wanted his business. And they made him an offer he couldn't refuse. And he refused the offer, so they killed him. So Richard Wright and his family had to leave Arkansas and just leave all their stuff behind, escape with their lives. And he talks about it in one of his books, was Black Boy, I think, his autobiography. But his uncle was lynched by white men for his business. So let's show you how they play these games. Why not? I mean, I'll talk to a brother who's from Chicago. I said, do you recommend going to Chicago? Is Chicago really as bad as they say? He said, well, look at like this, Ron. We had 55 shootings over the weekend and 11 deaths that we know of, 11 confirmed deaths. But, every day you wake up, you're taking a chance. Every day you walk out your door, you take for granted that you're coming home that night. So just live your life and don't be afraid to live life. And then when it's your time, it's your time. But enjoy your time while you're here. That's what he's telling me. And I tell that to anybody. Enjoy your time, whatever that time you have left. It's just enjoy. Even when it gets crazy and weird and sad and rough and tough, enjoy those moments too. Because at least you're still alive. So I want to thank y'all. If you like the words from Brother Herb, please spread the word. You can support the movement, Cash App, $R2C2H2. You can Google Pay, PayPal, or Zelle your support at R2C2H2@gmail.com. You can Zelle your support, Vimo your support at R2C2H2 to join our Patreon page, We All Be. Also, you can buy and wear all of his art. This is my Ida B. Wells, Ida B. Fine shirt right here. Go down to that shelf below the description box on YouTube, and you can click onto our shelf to get to our main official Teespring page, R2C2H2 place. This is all my artwork. I got to do some more artwork before the weekend. Hopefully I have something new to show y'all the next stream that we do. R2C2H2.com. So thank y'all so much. Let me read my disclaimer if I get out of here. I have overstayed my welcome, I think. I don't even know if I said anything that made sense. I know I talk and sometimes I get tongue twisted and stuff. I don't know. Sometimes I just think I'm just a running joke. I don't know. But yeah, there's so much. The games. So I've been coming in clear, but let's read disclaimer. Disclaimer: the views expressed by hosts and guests on the We All Be TV platform are not the official views, opinions, beliefs, or perspectives of We All Be News or the We All Be Group Incorporated. We All Be News is an organization that thoroughly believes in supplementing the information narrative that is usually supplied by the corporate news entities with those viewpoints and expressions which may be marginalized or ignored for a plethora of reasons. We are about informing the general public on alternative perspectives as it relates to news and information, and letting the general public be the ultimate judge in deciding on how to use said information. Informed citizens are responsible citizens. Thank you for your support. So, wrapping it up, I'm going to play my Black Wall Street Forever, little toodaloo. It's about saying, I appreciate y'all. Shout out to people that enjoy my trumpet playing, and also to the critics. Without critics, you won't have success. But somebody was saying they were from New York and that I need some more practice on my trumpet playing. I'm thinking to myself, okay, that's fine. But he liked the show. But my thing is that don't forget that if it was for Memphis, there would be no trumpet players. I'll tell you why. Because this is Black Music Month before I get out of here. Booker Little, like I said, we honoring Booker Little, right? Booker Little was an amazing trumpet player. Like, he changed the game in 23 years of living on the planet, but he was a follower of Clifford Brown. I would tell you this. The reason y'all know about Louis Armstrong is because of Memphis. Not because of New Orleans. It's because of Memphis. because you got the picture I got back here, the black woman at the piano, you got Louis Armstrong playing. You got to think Lil Harder Armstrong for us getting Louis Armstrong. This is a Memphis woman, born February 3rd, 1898, near Beale Street. Her folks were from Oxford, Mississippi, but she was born here in Memphis. She was King Oliver's pianist in his orchestra. And King Oliver was the jegna for Louis Armstrong. King Oliver, Papa Joe Oliver, was a famous cornetist from New Orleans. And Louis Armstrong was his protege. Louis Armstrong was very shy. So Joe Oliver called Louis Armstrong to come from New Orleans to Chicago. So Lil recalled years later that Joe, hey, Lil, I'm bringing up my son, my boy, little Louis. Little Louis gonna come join me and be my second horn, my second cornet. Then she'll say, I don't see nothing little about Louis but his clothes. He's kind of big and plump. He got bangs. So Louis had bangs in his hair. It's pictures of Louis Armstrong with bangs, and he's like a country bumpkin. But she started noticing how he was treated, especially in the recording booth. Louis was staying like 20 feet or 30 feet behind everybody else when they recorded, even though he was the second cornet. Cornet is nothing but like a cousin of the trumpet. It's a shorter cone, whatever, darker sound. And I got a cornet that's over 100 years old. So he was staying like 20, 30 feet behind everybody else while they recorded because his trumpet was so powerful. And King Oliver told Lil one day, well, you know what? Louis could be a superstar, but he'll never be a superstar because he don't believe in himself. He don't believe in himself. The boy too shy. The boy don't have no confidence, but he's a better trumpet player than me. And Lil started thinking about it. He said he's the better one. She started looking at how people responded to Louis while he was playing. And her favorite trumpet player, cornet, trumpet, whatever, was a guy from New Orleans named Freddie Kepper. I love Freddie Kepper. He was what they consider a Creole, but he was a hell of a trumpet player. I love his style for me. And so what she did was she was married at the time, and Louis was married at the time. Louis' first wife was a prostitute from Louisiana named Daisy Parker. So Louis was a pimp. People don't think like people. Oh yeah, you're smiling. What that dude be so black and blue? Louis was a pimp. His first wife was a prostitute, Daisy Parker. When she would get upset at Louis, she would throw bricks at his head, try to hit him in the head with bricks. But she was loyal to Louis. I mean, she even got into a knife fight for Louis for his honor, to put respect on his name. But anyway, and Lil was married, but she got divorced. He got divorced. They got married. She upgraded him, changed his style, custom made suits, cut off his bangs, gave King Oliver his walking papers. She fired Louis from King Oliver's band, got Louis up to New York to the biggest and greatest jazz band at the time, the Fletcher Henderson Orchestra, who was playing at the Roseland Ballroom. The Roseland Ballroom was just closed down less than 10 years ago. The last performer at the Roseland was Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga closed down the Roseland, but the Roseland was a prominent ballroom in New York back in the 20s. And Louis Armstrong came to the best orchestra in the land for jazz, and he changed the game because people was exposed to the way he played, his phrasing and stuff like that, his sound. And the best trumpet player in New York was a dude at the time when Louis came to New York. The best black trumpet player, the best jazz trumpet player in New York was a guy named Johnny Dunn from Memphis. Johnny Dunn used to play for W.C. Handy, and he went to New York, ended up playing in Europe for a long period of time. Died rather young. I think he died from tuberculosis overseas, but he was a top trumpet player in New York. When he came back, Lil made him come back to Chicago. She had a banner made, world's greatest cornet player, got him a couple gigs at some of the prestigious clubs in Chicago. She organized the Hot 5 and Hot 7 recordings. This is like the Rosetta Stone of jazz. This is also the foundation for American music. Because basically, Louis Armstrong invented pop music singing with heebie-jeebies. Oh, I got the heebie-jeebies, heebie-jeebies. He invented all that. Bing Crosby was a student of Louis Armstrong. He studied him closely. Bing Crosby, one of the most successful singers in American history. Also, Billie Holiday, Frank Sinatra, Ella Fitzgerald, all the greats studied Louis Armstrong. Billy Eckstine said that Louis Armstrong was the world's greatest singer without a voice. And I love Mr. B. Billy Eckstine was a bad Momo Jamma. So, Louis Armstrong was brilliant, but it's because that black woman from Memphis believed in his talent and his potential. that she upgraded him. And even though he got married 2 more times, he stayed in close connection or contact with Lil because she helped make his career, made him a superstar. And so when he died back in 1971, he had it in his will that Lil had to ride in the family car next to his wife, his widow. So while she was performing in Chicago on TV, she was performing the St. Louis Blues for a Louis Armstrong tribute in Chicago, in the Chicagoland area, whatever. This is back in August of 71. She had a heart attack and died at the piano while performing for Louis Armstrong. So that was the love of her life, Lil Hardin Armstrong. And she made sure the world never forgot the name of Louis Armstrong. And there's another Memphis connection with Louis Armstrong. When he was in Chicago, he used to play the Vendome Theater for the orchestra for the Vendome Theater. The guy who led that popular orchestra was a guy named Erskine Tate. Guess where he was from? He was from Memphis. He was born and raised in Memphis. And he was also in W.C. Handy's jazz band. And one of my favorite Louis Armstrong albums is Louis Armstrong Plays W.C. Handy. That album is amazing. And it came out in the 50s. And it also, I like the fact they interviewed W.C. Handy on what he thought about Louis Armstrong, like the first time he heard Louis Armstrong, what he thought about him. And W.C. Handy said he heard him at the Vendome Theater. Like one of his proteges was over the orchestra, Erskine Tate. And what he said about him basically, I just love the way he sound. Cause it sounded like he was proud. It came from a proud people. You know, his sound, he had a lot of pride and love and dignity in his sound. And I never heard anybody that really sound like Louis Armstrong to this day. He just had a different way of playing trumpet. And if you look at pictures of him, it's like his lips are really messed up. Cause like sometimes he'll just cut his lips. And he get a lot of surgery done on his lips because like the way his embouchure was made, it was not like what you're supposed to do. What I love about jazz is that people don't play like you're supposed to play. Like the technique, they do their own technique. Like you look at trumpet players, you don't supposed to have your cheeks blow out like Dizzy Gillespie. You don't supposed to play with your chin in your chest like Miles Davis. You don't supposed to have your embouchure. It's not about everybody sounding like y'all don't get it right. I don't care if I don't sound like everybody. I'm supposed to sound like me. When you hear me play, that's me. I don't give a damn if you like it or not. Because I remember I talked to before I could talk all night. Jimmy Heath. Look up Jimmy Heath. Jimmy Heath was an amazing saxophonist. Had a chance to honor him, give his flowers. I met him in his apartment in Queens near the JFK airport back in 2016. Spent a couple of hours with Mr. Heath and interviewed him for my Jimmy Lunsford documentary. And he was one of the guys who was behind the idea of the Jazzmobile. If you're in New York and DC and Philadelphia and places like that, I know y'all heard of the Jazzmobile. So he talked about the time. I told him that one of my favorite saxophonists of all time was Albert Ayler. Look up Albert Ayler. His last name is Ayler. And Albert Ayler to me was amazing. He was the truth. But everybody can't stand Albert Ayler's playing because it's so. People think that his playing was way out. It wasn't really way out. He was going back to the roots of African Black spiritual expression. What he was doing was going back in time because there's really no time. Time doesn't exist. They are talking about the word black and all what it means. Time is an illusion. It doesn't exist. William Faulkner said the past is never past. Albert Ayler was very proficient on saxophone. What he was doing, he wanted to be free in his. He wanted freedom from the restraints of what the rules call for. So he was going back and tapping into the ancestors in Congo Square in New Orleans, Congo Square, back from on the west coast of Africa. He was going back to the plantation, the cotton fields. So his sound, his saxophone playing was amazing to me. But a lot of Black folks didn't like that shit because Black folks want shit they could dance to. And then all that shit, that dissonant shit. Motherfuckers were throwing books at his ass at the Jazzmobile. You had folks in Harlem, they was in the sky rises and whatever. They were throwing books at his ass. They're throwing everything at Albert Ayler, throwing down watermelon, whatever. They were throwing shit at Albert Ayler. Stop playing that shit. But Albert Ayler was a favorite of John Coltrane. You know what I'm saying? John Coltrane loved the Albert Aylers and the Ornette Colemans, some guys that played way out. There's a audio recording of Albert Ayler playing at Coltrane's funeral. It's worth listening to. It's kind of like, but like you could hear the spirit of what he was playing with because the way he was playing his music was like old brass marching band music. Like even though he playing saxophone, like the way he would play anthems and shit and things like and spiritual, like old marching band, like John Philip Sousa. No, a lot of black folks love John Philip Sousa. We love that marching music. Like we know we got the Southern Heritage Classic here. We're going to have it this year after 2 years not having it because Deion Sanders is the head coach of Jackson State and Eddie George is the head coach of Tennessee State. We're going to have the Southern Heritage Classic this year, come hell or whatever. But black folks love that marching band music. We love that music. But A.L.L was tapping into that marching band brass music and stuff. But like I said, his stuff was really like abstract. It was out there, but to me, it wasn't really that abstract. He was calling the past to come back. It was more like I'll call it Sankofa music. But a lot of black folks couldn't dig A.L.L, and he died young. They found him floating in the East River. He was just 34 years old. But check out A.L. He could sing too. To me, he could sing. He got some interesting things. But anyway, he was like one of Coltrane's favorite musicians. So I think exactly. I love Monk, and people think Monk is out, but he's not way out. You know what, Monk was a gift to horn players. I'm gonna tell you why. The way to me that Monk approached the piano was like a horn player because he started out on trumpet. Monk was a trumpet player when he first started out, but because he had asthma, he had to quit playing the trumpet, and then he got to the piano, and the rest is history. But that's why I love trumpet players when they play Monk. That's why a lot of trumpet players, or not just trumpet, but horn players like trumpet and saxophone players really develop themselves playing the music of Monk. If you think about John Coltrane, when he was with Monk at the 5 spot when they did Carnegie Hall, the way he was able to develop his sound, it was because he was dealing with Monk, because Monk gave him space, just like what Miles Davis gave John Coltrane space. Miles Davis and Monk were masters of space. They knew how to use space, just like Sun Ra. They gave you space to expand and expound and do your thing. And Miles, and it's funny, people say, oh, Miles, people say, well, Miles made a career out of playing the wrong notes. People say mean and cruel and belittling things. Miles was a visionary. Miles was a visionary, man. That's all I gotta say. Miles, he said it best. He said the reason why he was different and successful because he had charisma. It was not him being the best trumpet player, but Miles could hold his own. But Miles didn't have to be like Clifford Brown or Fats Navarro or Ken Dorm and Freddie Hubbard and Lee Morgan, Dizzy Gillespie. I can name a whole bunch of people. You get the point. Miles was Miles because his father told him, if you're going to do the music thing, just be yourself. Do not be a mockingbird. Do not be like everybody else. And that's like with artists anyway. Like I like a lot of artists. Like my art don't look like everybody's. Like people say, I can identify your art right away because you got a certain type of style. To me, that's a badge of honor. Everybody should live life with a certain type of finesse, a certain type of style. You should leave a signature on the world. Whatever you do in life, you should leave your signature on the world. That should be your job. It's just to be you, to put your makings and markings on the world, you know? But everybody got demons and shit. The thing about demons and is not to destroy your demons, because a lot of times you end up destroying yourself. It's to make a peace, to make a ceasefire. Like the Korean War was never ended. You know, the Korean War is in a state of ceasefire. The Korean War is still ongoing, but it hasn't ended. Wars never end, especially wars of you know, between yourself, between your different selves. So find a way to make some type of peace in order to get what you need to go or what you need to get. Okay, again, I'm getting all really tongue tied now, but thank y'all. You have a great night. In the words of Great Duke Ellington. And we love you madly. And my thing is this: the only thing new is the history that you don't know. I think that what Harry Truman said, the president of the United States, the only thing new is the history that you don't know. So with that said, family, thank you so much for being patient. And let me send y'all out on y'all merry way. Hopefully, I'm gonna check in with my landlady because I gotta pay my rent, so I gotta have a place to stay. While I see if I got any noise complaints. 5, 5. fine. But yeah, life is good. Y'all take care.
Ready? Got it?